This conference will now be recorded.
Where's the supply back? Hold on, let me get this. He's dead. All right, we'll call the meeting to order. Stand for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sure. Oh Lord, as we gather this day to do the important business for the people of the village of Owego, grant us wisdom, compassion, and understanding. Amen.
All right, first order of business, as usual, public comment. Mr. Office.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, Board. I'll share with you a note that I sent to the mayor and the village attorney, just so you can follow along. A couple of concerns. I have a concern as being a member of the fire department, being on fire board, 2% distribution issue. And furthermore, based on the most recent decision that came down in response from the village attorney, I have a concern as a taxpayer, lifelong resident, former mayor, trustee. If I was sitting in your seats, I'd be a little concerned if I qualify the big if what the lawyer recommended to the treasurer of the fire department and the chief, if that's what he agreed to, then I have these concerns that I have listed for you. So there's nine items, and I've sent this to the mayor and the village attorney back on October 18th. So there's 8 points. I'll kind of read to you, but you can kind of follow along. So my opening statement is Mayor and Attorney Van Wee at our most recent fire board meeting on 10/4/23. I attached those minutes. That's in the email I sent. Mayor can forward those along to you for your reference. The treasurer and chief provided the explanation they received from the village attorney, the method for distributing 2% funds. Based on the information provided in the minutes attached, we have a few concerns. One, in a previous response, it's attached, you'll see the answer from the village attorney made a statement below. Subject to call is what matters, not how many calls you go on. Number two, the New York State Controller also made a similar statement. As said, attendance record is not determinative of distribution of 2% money. Three, regardless of both these previous opinions, we were told per the minutes attached that it was determined to use the fire department SOGs, stands for Standard Operating Guidelines, for determination that states both calls and attendance as a requirement. Therefore, for the current year, only 7 members qualify per these guidelines, minutes attached, which state both calls and attendance requirements and is not equitable. And what it says is, under those SOGs from 2013, says we'll participate in 15 OFD conducted weekly drills, duty night, company, and special trainings per year. Will respond to 15% of all fire calls in a year. Those are the 2 highlighted points. They will maintain the gear and inspect it for integrity. Will immediately surrender the gear upon failing to fulfill the above requirements. Failure to comply will result in further action as dictated by the chief or designee. Item 4, in the FASD guide attached, that's the Fire Academy of the State of New York guide attached, it says that it is the controller opinion that in the course of examination by the controller, any equitable distribution of these monies is acceptable as long as every fire company within the fire department receives an appropriate share. Based on the decision, how is the distribution equitable as 2 companies receive 0? 5, first, do you agree that this is what the village attorney agreed to? And second, the SOGs are only guidelines, and being that they are guidelines and not policy, how is this an acceptable criteria to use? Is the OFD following everything in this document today? 6, if you are in agreement if you are in agreement, then my last concern is that if this is the criteria, then the village based on that criteria, only has 7 firefighters as of 2023 and only 11 in 21 and 22. See the minutes that were attached based on the meeting. If true, how does the village meet its requirement to provide fire protection to the taxpayers per the charter? 7, lastly, the treasurer only distributed 3 years of the 2% money, 21, 22, 23, although there were 4 years worth outstanding. Also, how does this affect previous year's distributions? For reference, for years, the department always distributed an equal share to all companies that was agreed upon. That was 1750 was the last equal distribution. Prior to all this confusion, and the remainder was kept by the department. And members in the past were recorded with a certified list from every company prior to yearly elections. There are several other concerns, but want to make sure this assessment and decision is agreed to by the village. And I said, feel free to contact me. So I have a concern as a taxpayer, right, that my fire insurance for my home, I get discounted, right, as many people do, because of the location of a fire station. In other words, they can respond to my house on a call. Well, if there's only 7 firefighters, I'm a little concerned as a taxpayer. If, and I say if, this is what we're going to go by. The other thing that concerns me is, and it's very simply in our bylaws, and bylaws I believe are more binding than standard operating guidelines. Number 1, you can read the guidelines from 2013 if you so choose, and you'll find a whole bunch of stuff in there that we don't do. So if we pick a section, and we're going to use that as a guideline, then one would believe that you follow everything that's in those guidelines. Number 2, it's a guideline, right? So in other words, if I only went to 14 meetings and I only responded to 14.99% of the calls based on the guidelines, I'm out. That's concerning. So I go back to the department bylaws. Now, bylaws to me seem to be a more binding document than SOGs. But very simply, the bylaws in section 5, right? And this is how we operate and have operated for years, right? Every year we have elections. Number 1, let me go back. Everybody that's a member of the fire department has to come in front of the village board and be voted on. And members are members and have always been members. We have no classifications. We don't have a designation between social, right? This term active or inactive. It simply says, and if you read the lawyer's response, duty to call. So we're all members, we've always been members, and there's no other distinction. Now, there's people that want to make distinctions, and there's places that have that. The other thing is we're the only chartered, probably left fire company in all of New York State. So we operate under different rules, right? So I talked to the controller, the lawyer at the controller's office, the same as your attorney did. And when it uses this case that everybody wants to refer to, the Wren case that's referenced, what that referred to was because there was paid firemen, right? And even the lawyer at the controller's office said that's made that thing confusing now when we use the word active. It's because the paid firefighters at that time wanted to share in 2% insurance money. And just for the audience, so you understand what 2% fire insurance money is, it's money you pay as part of your fire insurance. And what they did is they said, because volunteers don't get paid, then they'll take 2% of all fire insurance money and they distribute it every year back to the volunteers, back to the members, so that they can use it under certain criteria to do things, right? Because they serve us all. And if you look across the country, probably 90% of all firefighting is volunteers. And we're struggling, right? We're struggling for young people to go, I'm no young guy. I'm a life member, right? I've been there for a long time, and it was a generational thing. And we have people coming along and want to put more restrictions on volunteers, and guess what happens? You don't get them. So I don't know about you, I kind of like somebody to show up. My house was on fire, but based on this most recent thing, we only have 7 people. Yeah, there was a few years ago where people that sat on this board wanted to get rid of a bunch of people in the fire department because they used the term, and it was a response that was in the newspaper, that said they responded because we had too many people. And because we weren't following the charter, they threw out a bunch of life members and a bunch of people. Well, that caused a big brouhaha for those that you remember. But that's interesting that we wanted to throw out too many because our charter described how many you should have. Yet how concerned should we be if we only have 7? And by the way, you shouldn't have to repair the fire station. You definitely don't have what I heard, $1 million to replace the fire tower or the clock tower. So I don't even think you need trucks, buildings, or anything. You can save a bunch of money because you don't have enough people based on this criteria to fight fires and protect the taxpayer. So I'm concerned not only as a longtime fireman, my grandkids, 5th generation. I'm concerned now as a taxpayer with what's transpired, that are people protected, and do we have a bigger problem? Do we have a bigger problem if it gets out and people understand they don't have protection based on this? Now, I will tell you that members, when you read the bylaws, right, you're a member after you're voted in, you're always a member, and elections are held every year. And the elections in the fire department are held by the bylaws by members. And oh, by the way, what it says is, respective companies shall on before the first Wednesday of May in each year send to the secretary of this board, meaning fire board, a certified list of members of the respective companies in good standing at that date, which list shall be in alphabetical order and signed by the foreman or president. The members, that list. There's another section that says, let's see, right? Board of Trustees has the right to change extend voting times. And it says during emergency, so all members in good standing are allowed to vote. Section 2, every person who has been a member for 1 month prior to an election is clear on their company's certified list at their last regular board meeting shall be entitled to vote. Interesting. All those members that are on the certified list that is submitted to you as well, you're responsible, right? As you're responsible for the proper distribution of 2% money. Because even though the electronic check goes directly to the fire department today, it doesn't take out the duty of responsible of the clerk treasurer because the village gets the money first. Even though the checks go somewhere else, you don't give up your responsibility. And I think your lawyer would agree with the lawyer from the controller's office. I'm not a lawyer, but I think you agree that it's the same way. And what people don't understand when they're having a conversation, they're looking for an answer, you have to understand first the structure of the Owego Fire Department, which is much different than many, many other places. And so people are all around this activity of active and inactive. Well, I'll tell you what, when you're at a fire, I don't care if you give me a bottle of water, or you help out, or you pick up a hose, you're doing it, and you do it in the way we used to do it. If you showed up once and we didn't see you in 10 years, we were happy to see you and use the help. And what's happened is we're pushing on people, and we're throwing this active, inactive, and trying to define what that means. Well, first and foremost, anybody that's in an organization that's volunteer, what number of people do the work? All of them? Not any of the things I've been part of, right? The 80-20 rule. But do they kick out all the members out of the Elks if they don't do anything? Do they kick them out of the Kiwanis if they don't do anything? Do they kick them out of any organization because they didn't do anything? No, you hear the same guys that do everything go, David, we're tired of doing everything. So it's a big concern. I have a concern as a taxpayer. I have a concern you're in charge. This is a municipal fire department, and it's out of control, and it's a big exposure, in my opinion, which I believe is accurate. These are all factual things. This isn't made up. This isn't verbal. And I don't come here because I sat at a fire board where he listened. This is what the attorney said. Well, I wasn't in the meeting. I don't know what was said. So I don't necessarily, I come to the horse's mouth to get the real answer. I don't know if you're all aware of all of this and what's been going on, but it's a tremendous, tremendous concern. And I think your biggest exposure after all this, which scares me as an ex-mayor, right? Someone who sat on this board and bigger as a taxpayer, am I protected? Am I protected? Is my family protected? Are my grandkids protected? Are the residents protected? And do the residents even know? Right? They see the trucks go out. In fact, there were 6 trucks that went out last night. 6 trucks and an emergency squad that showed up because the volleyball team won, and that's good. I'm wondering, well, we found 6 out of the 7 people must have been driving the trucks because everybody else isn't a member based on this decision that was made to follow the SOGs. The other thing that's in here is both the comments say no meetings, nothing in 2% says you have to do anything. All it says is duty to call. And there's a reason for that. Yet, they're saying the decision made by the attorney talking to the treasurer and the fire chief is SOGs, which says you have these requirements. Yet the controller's opinion, FASNY, right, and all them say, and the insurance law itself says that. So I'm confused, and I'm just here to, right? So I sent you a note, I hadn't heard back, and I said, well, I'll show up in person.
So I figured out, you got the lawyer's email address wrong, so I just sent it to him tonight. Because we had a meeting before this meeting about that specifically. He's on now.
So feel free to ask me any questions. I have SOGs, I have bylaws, I have all that, but I've never seen anybody hold a thing and said, these are guidelines. Right? It's kind of like you telling your kids you have guidelines. But if you run out in the road, I disown you. No, you just say these are guidelines. How about the one where you tell them don't touch the hot stove? How many people touch the hot stove when they were a kid? Yeah, that was just a guideline that you don't get burned. But it wasn't hold true and fast. But it's really a bigger concern. You're trying to bring in volunteers. It's hard in all organizations, firefighting especially. We're unique in Owego, always have been. In fact, we've been the envy of many places. They go, how come you have so many people at one time? In my company alone, at one time, there was 300 members. 300. At one time, the fire department had 500 members. Now, people will argue that all of them didn't do something, but a lot of them did. And a lot of them did it over multi-generation. I remember a lot of them leaving their kitchen tables, leaving Little League games, leaving all that to provide and serve. And all that's happened in about the last 10 to 15 years is those people getting kicked in the teeth. Like all of a sudden, because you're old, we don't have any need for you anymore. Well, there's a lot of experience. You could call that active, but I don't think it's inactive. Is it only inactive is when your brain stops working, in my opinion. So I don't know what you're going to do, but I just want to bring all this to your attention. It's a tremendous concern. And even the equitable portion in here, you obviously see with what I gave you, it's not equitable. Now, what's interesting, this all started the big fight a couple of years ago when I came back to fire board, and the old timers figured it out. It's supposed to be distributed, by the way, based on how many members you have in each of your companies. Well, some companies had a lot of members, some didn't have so many. So the old timers were pretty smart. You learn from wisdom. They decided, hey, we're all brotherhood. It's a brotherhood. We'll all share equally. And they only wanted a small portion, and they let the fire department use the rest. And that's allowed. And they figured it out a long time ago. Then somebody came along and said, nah, we don't like that idea so much. Maybe that's not a good way to do it. And here we are today. And all it's done is people leave and say, hey, enough's enough. And now we're at a real critical point. So I don't know, because remember, it's a village municipal fire department. It's your responsibility. I look forward to your response.
Do you have anything, John, other than the work?
Any questions?
Yeah, well, we have spoke to the attorney today, to verify what was said, and he's gonna get back to us. And there's also an idea that was floated around, which maybe I should mention now. But, it goes along the lines of what you just said and ending that. The old timers equally. That's the way it was, the way it should be, because we're all equal. All together, we work as a unit. Should be more here and more there. And I'm totally in agreement with that. So I will get back with the fire board on that, as I'm advised.
But again, my bigger concern, right, I mean, that's an important part of it. My bigger concern is all the people that are here that are village residents. If that's, and by the way, it's not a lot of people, right? Because it's less and less of what's gone on over the last probably 10, 15 years. Right? People are going, hey, I don't need that headache. You're turning it into a job. It used to be something that when I grew up, I joined it, right? Because my friends did it. And it was the right thing to do in your community to be involved. You start setting rules and regulations, say, hey, like I say, very simply, oh, I showed up at 14 meetings and only went to 14.99% of the calls. Doesn't even make sense. When we didn't see somebody show up, we went and asked them what was going on. Right? We looked out for each other. That's what we did. And now it's become, like many things, this huge division over a very good thing. And it's put us in a very precarious position. And I kind of have an idea of the answer, but unfortunately, it's all your responsibility.
I
Thank
totally
you for
agree.
your time.
I've been a member of the fire department for 20 years, over 20 years, and I've been a resident here for over 23. So I totally agree with that. We're a family. And
Used to be.
Yeah.
Like many things.
Yeah.
The world is changing. Sure.
I wasn't aware of this at all, but, and I just want to make a comment that, this particular board here never told you to purge. It was before this board came along. You know, so it's not,
I'm just sharing history and facts.
yeah. Well, I'm just saying, you know, so the public knows, we did not tell you to purge, not this board.
We definitely appreciate all of our volunteers.
Yes.
Nate, did you have anything to add to that?
Nope. I think my son turned off my computer and I turned it back on, so you might have been hearing him play the piano. Yeah, no, I mean, John, like the mayor said, you had my email wrong, and the mayor forwarded it to me just earlier this evening. And I had a brief chance to talk with him, and actually, I think Charles was on that call also about the issues that you raised. And I think at the end of the day, I understand the points that you're making. I think that there's a decision that has to be made by the fire companies and the fire department about how this is supposed to work. Like you mentioned, however many years ago, it seems like everybody had it worked out. For whatever reason, that fell apart. And so now there's a need for a decision to be made about how this money is supposed to be distributed. To the extent that I was giving advice, and John, I'll respond more specifically to your email in writing, but largely speaking, how the monies get distributed needs to be equitable. It needs to be rational. It needs to be a basis for the decision. And I think that the fire board needs to make a decision, insofar as there's some disagreement amongst everybody as to how to do it. And my understanding is that this has been going on for quite a while. And obviously, John, you've brought it to the village board for their input as well. I guess I would try to encourage the fire board and the fire companies to all mutually agree and have a good conversation about how this should work. That seems to be the best solution if everyone can get along and agree on the outcome. But other than that, John, I'll certainly be responding to your email.
Thanks, Nathan. The point is that's why it came to the decision. The treasurer couldn't make a decision based on all these discussions and the same points. So the recommendation was, because she wasn't comfortable distributing anything, it was 4 years. They're going out 4 years, right? The insurance law is pretty straightforward. All the same information I'm sharing with you has been shared at fire board. And it reached ahead, and she did to protect her, because she's ultimately liable at her point, right? She went and got legal advice. And so the recommendation was, what legal advice do you get? She went to the controller, she went to FASD. You said, hey, this is a village fire department, right? The village is responsible, right? So she came to the village attorney. All I'm doing is what they told us, what the recommendation was. And if it is, because I don't know, Nathan, what you said in the meeting to them, I have no idea. I'm just going by what they said. if they're putting calls and meetings is counter to what the insurance law says, what FASD says, what you previously said, that is not a determination of distribution, number one. And number two, when a company only gets zero, that's not equitable. And three, the bigger concern is if all that's true, and that's what happened, there's only 7 firefighters in all the village of Owego in 2023. And we all know that's probably not true. Because a member is a member is a member. Every member that comes in takes new member training. Every single member went through that, including myself, 30 plus years ago. Right? And there's never been a distinction in this whole social, non-social, active, inactive. We throw these words around, but a member of the village fire department has always been a member, has been a member, is a member. We don't care if you bring a bottle of water, you're a fundraiser, you mop the floor, you just show up and say hello and support. There was no distinction, and that's why it worked so well. And that's where we've diverted from. And so going back to the fire board, it isn't gonna happen there. But again, my bigger concern after we've reached this point is me as a taxpayer, am I protected? Because guess what? People don't like their taxes going up. They don't like their flood insurance going up in the village. And now they're not gonna like if their fire insurance escalates. And if we end up going to a town of Owego fire response, okay? Because we can't do it here, you don't want that bill. Because that'll just be another bill. Nobody has any idea what people pay out in the town of Owego and other places for fire tax. Right? You're trying to stay economically sustainable here. And this is just one more thing that's taken us away from that. So that's really my point, Nate. But I'll appreciate your response. Thanks.
Yeah, we definitely don't want that. It's not. Fire departments saved my house once before. So. And
Sorry,
sorry,
thank you for everybody's time.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no, I think all the volunteers in the village are fantastic.
All right, I guess my turn. Sure. Hi, I'm Will Shumway. I moved to Owego 5-6 years ago. I've been lifelong resident of county. Since COVID, I noticed an interesting change. There's a lot of homeless in this town that there didn't used to be. And I'm one of them. My own fault, but that's beside the point. A lot of houses are gone now. A lot of places are gone. No place for people to move to. What are we going to do about that? You know, some of these people need help. It's cold out there in the winter. I know. I've lived out there for a couple of years. Been out there for about 9.
All good questions.
There was supposed to be a place going in over here, Temple and Liberty,
Yeah, that got
shot.
shut down. And then there was a new idea and then that didn't pan out. And they're still looking at ideas over there, but.
Okay, I just, been watching a lot of my friends get awful cold. They don't like it. I can live through it. I'm used to it. Then the other day I was visiting one of the camps and a friend of mine got sick. I went down to the mission to get some help. The guy down there who's in charge of the outreach program wouldn't call 911. Refused to. I kind of thought that was a little bit.
Yeah.
So I figured I'd bring that up too while I'm at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, that's.
I can live in
Outside
the
of-
woods. A lot of these people have no idea what it's like.
I agree. Although kind of bigger than the village, right? That's in Tagga County, there's not a ton of services for.
No,
like
there
that.
isn't. But I figured this.
I know we are working with, OPD's working with Pastor Jay, the Nazarene Church,
Mhm.
trying to
Come up with something.
come up with anything, really.
Yeah. No, I spoke with them a couple days ago and they're actively working on trying to find a place, this outreach place for people that need help.
A warming shelter or something,
Yeah, because
although shelter's the wrong word, but.
the guy at the laundromat don't like it when people show up there in the middle of the night, even if it's just get warm for a few minutes. It's not like they got a whole lot of places to go.
No, there's no good options, you know what I mean?
No, obviously the mission's not friendly.
I didn't know that one, but.
Yeah.
I didn't think so either when I ran down there trying to get help for my friend.
Right.
I have to say, I totally sympathize with you. This is coming from a person who has been homeless myself on the streets of Manhattan, living under the 59th Street Bridge. Yeah. So I know, and that was by choice. I mean, my story is not, it's transparent. I have nothing to hide. Where I've been through, you know? And I remember times sleeping on the subway, the same subways I worked on as a conductor. Imagine that. That comes like full circle. And you know, back in the 80s, there was a lot of things going on. I remember checking into hospitals in the emergency room just to get warmth and watch Seinfeld.
Yeah.
You know,
Understand that.
because they can't kick you out of a hospital, especially if you're in there for emergency, just because. Always a place to eat. And people always came to me and said, there's shelters. You go to shelters.
I've heard that.
Yeah. Good luck with that. It was safer actually to sleep on the streets, even in Manhattan at that time. So I sympathize. It's just that this village is not set up for anything to help. And that bothers me.
Yeah.
On a personal level, that bothers me, you know? And there's a lot of people say, oh, the immigrants coming in. They're just not just immigrants.
They're not immigrants, they're all people from here.
There's people, and people getting dropped off here. It's not like we're importing them in.
Yeah.
You know, we're not saying how to send us your hungry or.
Yeah. Back when I first drove cab back in 2000, you know, the only homeless people were people that wandered in. You know, George Music wasn't even a homeless person. I don't know if anybody remembers him.
Very well.
He's a legend.
Yes, he is. But, you know, he'd have a spot every year because he'd bust a window or something, get put in jail for the winter. Now, they don't take you to jail.
You gotta do a
Take
lot
you
more to get.
overnight, take you back out in the morning.
If you're lucky overnight, it could be an hour.
Yeah, depending what time you get arrested. You gotta wait till after 9 o'clock when the judge ain't around. Sorry. Bad humor. No, I'm in the shoes I'm in because I stood next to a girl that I stood next to her. Probably shouldn't. She ruined my life, but that's okay. I'm gonna go somewhere and not even leave town. But
It's an interesting world since
yeah,
COVID and everything.
Go ahead and talk to us, you know, there's
Definitely appreciate you being here.
no judgment. I mean, people have all different reasons to end up homeless.
oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wish we had a simple solution.
There's never a simple solution. If things pan out for me, I will help. I'm gonna have some money here soon, but that's side point.
Rusty, is that door open?
Well, there's one side is hard to get open. I'll check.
Check it out. All right. Are you good?
Yeah. For now.
Thank you.
Back.
Very,
I
you're
just
still,
want to bring it to everybody's attention.
yeah. Yeah, no, it's definitely an issue. Quite know how to fix it, it's definitely an issue.
Like I say, if things pan out the way I'm hoping. Two things, I'll make Owego famous while I'm at it. I'll be making a lot of money because I'm doing my photography.
Okay. Nice.
It's going to be hopefully exhibited at the Mankowski Gallery in Sweden.
Cool.
9 cents from the village.
First just checking the core, make sure we'll figure it out. Or- I left Charles online, and I don't know what happened to him. Nothing. Oh, nobody else wanted to talk? Nobody do yet. Wendy? Thanks for waiting for me, Wendy.
Well, I was waiting for my turn. At the last village board meeting that I attended, there was a discussion surrounding painting of the firehouse doors. I believe they're newly installed doors. Okay. And now I agree with improving the village and making it attractive, especially to help boost tourism, which is how we stay alive. Spending money frivolously, I don't think is a good idea. And I think $8,000 from my vantage point is a huge amount of money. And so if you feel that you absolutely need to paint the doors for some reason, I'm asking you to think outside the box. And I took the liberty of taking a couple of pictures, you could pass that around, of murals that were done by students at no cost to the village. The one is the mural that was done at the pool by Larissa Hankey. Yeah, and the other was going down in Waverly at the underpass. And I know you're gonna say that I'm not comparing apples to oranges, and I'm not. I understand that. But here I have some more for you if you want one. Okay. But I would just like us to look at this in a different way. The other thing is, I imagine that you guys have a long laundry list of capital improvements that need to be made and they require attention from leftover money. So I also took the liberty of taking just a couple of pictures just down at Marvin Park of a couple of things that need to be done. The stone columns are falling apart. There's doors on that outbuilding by the pool. Actually, Owego Rotary offered to buy new ones and pay for them, but nobody would take us up on our offer. Some of the other things that I see around the village that need to be done is the historic Owego, Village of Owego signs. They need to be done. It's not part of the DRI project. And so anyhow, the other things I looked at was, what about beginning to level the sidewalks? We have sidewalks that are spray painted orange because they're so unlevel that you're trying to prevent people from tripping on them. So, you know, maybe $100,000 isn't enough to do all of it, but it could be a good start to getting it done. There's maintenance on the Riverwalk that needs to be done. The other thing I looked at was the DRI proposal in and of itself. And they had items that I don't think got approved, or there wasn't enough money for. One, beginning of restoration of the firehouse, the historic one. I understand that the second floor, third floor is roped off because it's a biohazard. Like, couldn't money go towards, you know, fixing the roof on that so we could at least stop things from getting worse? And then we can figure out a way to do the rest. There's parking downtown. That house is going to be raised on Main Street, like, you know, the one next to the Pink Palace.
247.
No.
This one that got boarded up,
Oh,
that's coming down.
demolished by the
Right.
way, yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be demolished. Couldn't that become a parking area? I mean, parking is like a problem all the time.
It won't be our land, so.
I'm sorry,
That won't be our land when it's said and done, so I don't know.
but I mean, it's something that can be investigated. We could pave it and we could have parking. There's other upgrades to Marvin Park and, you know, we've all seen that there's some major trees that have come down in the area. In fact, one in between our house and the Waltz house had to come down a couple of weeks ago. It was rotted, you know, could we start doing maybe a tree planting program? But I would like the board to seriously consider other ways to use that amount of money. Thank you.
So it's good you came tonight, because our
What?
architect's here, so we're gonna talk about a lot of the
I
DRI stuff,
saw that on the agenda. I didn't know that.
including those columns that you pictured.
If you notice now, the fencing around Marvin Park has been taken down.
Oh, I
It
haven't
looks
seen
nice
it.
open, but it's not gonna remain open like that. But it has begun.
Oh, good. Oh, so were the stone columns already?
James could explain it even more, but I know that's gonna be,
Perfect timing.
And
And how's it, like the sunrise?
as far as the fire station goes, the restoration of the clock tower was quoted around a little over $1 million for just the clock tower.
Uh-huh,
which
We
sits
are-
above the station,
right,
Yeah.
yeah.
two different.
Yeah.
entities.
I mean, when Ken Snowden was alive 10 years ago, he offered to repair the clock for free.
Yeah, well, the clock's the least of the worries.
Yeah, I know, but you know, like, you know, there's always, you can always say, well, we can't do a part of it because we can't do the whole thing of it. And, you know, it's like, I'm not gonna fix my roof because I can't fix that big hole in the roof because I can't replace the whole roof. Oh, no, fix what you can, do the rest when you can.
So the roof is gonna get fixed, so that it stops leaking and we can clean up the pigeon problem.
Especially for the people who work downstairs.
I
And
agree.
the matter with the mural, I mean, I don't think it's frivolous to spend money on something that's gonna be maintained throughout the year. I mean, the pictures of the fish, they were great. They did those on the pool. I mean, I was there for the dedication. It was great. And I agree that there should be things done, but we lost our art park. And that would have added a lot of eye candy to North Avenue. And if we could get some of that thought back, by beautifying North Ave, the station, everybody looks at a fire station. Whenever, any town I go through, I look for the fire station, look to see it. And that's right there in view coming down North Avenue. And
So I'd just like to make a comment or two. Tim Dice, 383 Front Street. So I run a factory, lots of equipment, lots of people work there. We've got a list of improvements that we want to make that probably would cost $4 million to get through. Every year we resort that list and we re-justify everything on it, knowing that these are all things that need to be done. When we actually get the budget, you work from the top down and, hey, here's the most important. Oh, this one needed to move up, that did something. But we work from a list that's existed for years and is updated as a regular process. I don't think anybody would argue with North Avenue needs to be made better, more attractive, that would help. But I would just like to see that there's a process, not kind of targets of opportunity. You know, because I do think between the DRI process and what got funded from there and all of the other discussions, that there ought to be a list that goes out and, you know, I would expect you guys to be looking at, hey, from each of these lists, maybe there's a North Avenue list, a Marvin Park list, a historic district list, that, hey, here's how we're going to divide it up. Here's the list of things, so it doesn't come down to what's the shiny thing tonight. Not saying that, again, North Avenue, yep, I think it needs to be improved. I think the building renovations that have been done there are a tremendous start, but I'd just like to see more of a process and the whole list of what you're giving up to do one thing, or just make sure that there's a rational, thoughtful priority of the projects to do.
I think those are Pretty good comments.
This is why we work together as a resident.
Can I pass these around?
No, that's for you specifically. Yep.
Hi, I'm Mark Ponzi, and I'm with New York State Citizens Audit. And what we're about is trying to promote fair and equitable elections in New York State. We're going to provide you with some data tonight. We are a nonpartisan group, meaning that we're not Republicans and Democrat, or we're not one or the other. There's been some press out there that that's come down from the Attorney General, trying to give us a black eye. The net of it is that all the information that we're going to pitch tonight is accurate. It can be justified by looking on the internet under our website. And with that, Linda and I think Linda's going to go next, and Holly's going to provide some actual information that goes along with this. What we're going to do is, after you listen to this, we're going to ask you to support our proposition. We're going around New York State to all the villages and towns. We've got just about all of Broome County, Tioga County covered. We're going to Syracuse, we're out to Buffalo, we're downstate as well. So this is just quite an effort. Over 2,000 people are involved in this.
Hi, my name is Linda Burkhart, and I actually live in the town of Lisle in northern Broome County. And what we're doing is we're trying to educate both elected officials as well as the public. This is not just a statewide issue, but it can affect the country as well if there's a congressional election involved. So I became involved in New York Citizens Audit. I actually first ran into them in Albany at a anti-mandate rally type of event, and saw that they were looking at hard data. They weren't trying to attack overturning the election or doing this or doing that. What we did starting in October of 2021, we foiled the New York State voter database now a total of 4 times. So this is not our data, it's the New York State voter database data. It's their data. We just looked at it. I think we're probably the first group that has done this, particularly in New York State. And because we're the first and the only group that has done this, it's been very hard getting publicity, trying to make inroads as far as some of the legislatures. Tioga County has been presented with the data, they have it. My county, you cannot have public comment at the legislative meetings, and we have not been able to get a meeting with a subcommittee at this time. We've been to Sullivan County twice because we presented to their legislature, and the sheriff of Sullivan County invited our group to present to all of the superintendents in Sullivan County. So they were very interested in the data that we presented. The data that, the methodology, I should say, that arrived at the conclusions of the data that we state has been peer reviewed and published. Dr. Andrew Paquette was the author and top researcher for our group, and his methodology and assessment of the 4 algorithms that he has found running within the New York State voter database has been peer reviewed and published in the Journal of Information Warfare in May of 23. It's considered solid math, solid science. Some numbers, all right, in 2022, the most recent election, there were over 35,000 more votes counted than voters who voted. In 2020, it was 358,356 more votes than voters who voted. You cannot, in good conscience, I feel, certify an election with that big of a difference, a big of a deficit. If your bank account had a $338,000 deficit, someone would be taking a look and answering some questions. I think everybody can agree on that. Then why was the 2020 election and the 2022 election certified with hundreds and tens of thousands of voters versus votes with the difference? It deserves an explanation. I think that everybody values their right to vote, and everybody wants to have faith in the system. The voter rolls need to be accurate. On August 14th of 2023, our chief researcher and executive board sent a 5.1 million line thumb drive to the DELE, the Division of Election Law Enforcement, which is attached to the New York State Board of Elections, asking that they, line by line, explain registrations that we feel violate election law and other voter laws that we must abide by, both state and federally. 5.1 million. No response. And as Mark mentioned, that's when the AG started to disparage our fact-finding, because that's what it is, fact-finding. The voters counted must be from eligible voters. Does anybody have any idea how many ineligible voters might have voted in, say, 2020? Well, just in counterfeit registrations, people that don't exist or for some reason they can't prove that they exist, 1,467,399 counterfeit registrations. And then how many of those are used to cast votes? With a deficit, we know that there's something going on. There is an allowable error rate for elections, and it is 1 in 125,000 ballots. Okay, so 125 ballots, you can have 1 error. So in 2020, the allowable rate for us in New York State was 48. We could have 48 errors throughout the state. And apparent errors were 745,248. In 2020, we had 70 allowable errors, over 960,000 apparent errors. So what we're trying to say is that there is something very wrong. Some people have felt it for a long time. We have the proof. We're trying to educate everybody. And what we're trying to do is get more people involved, and elected officials in particular. You have to follow law. Every day that you sit in those seats, every day that you walk on the streets of your village, you have to follow law. And if you do not, I am sure your constituents will say something if they feel you are not following the law. We need to say something if we feel our elected officials and our appointed officials in Albany are not following election law. And they have every right, we have every right to hold them accountable. And that is what we're asking you to do, is to help us in this effort to hold them accountable. We've provided the mayor with a resolution that will be shared with you, and to hopefully consider the resolution, approve it. And if you have influence with your county legislature or any other towns in the area, if you have friends or family, we will be glad to come and present this information to them as well. In closing, I just want to say that everything can be found on our website. It's auditny.com, so it's AUDITNY.com, and it appears on the bottom of all of the sheets that we handed out to you, so it's right at the bottom. Thank you very much for your time. I'm going to hand it to Holly.
Hi, you see that lady? She's great. Linda's getting up at 4 o'clock tomorrow morning, as am I, to actually administer elections. So most of our 2,000 volunteers, we work on election day. And so that's who's standing up and saying, hey guys, something's really, really wrong here. I wanted to tell you why I really got involved in this. I am a resident now of Vestal, and I moved up to the southern tier 3 years ago, actually, on election day, from Westchester, where I lived for 25 years. So Holly Gruskay was registered to vote, so was Holly D. Gruskay registered to vote, and so under my married name, Holly Halpern was registered to vote. That's 3. I'm also registered to vote in Broome, that's 4. I have duplicate or counterfeit registration, so do my kids. For some reason, my ex-husband is also registered down in New Rochelle as well as in Vestal. So for me, this is really personal, and that's why I got involved in New York Citizens Audit. There's somebody in the database with 25 fictitious registrations. By the way, if more than 1 votes, that's a felony for me. It's almost like identity theft is really what it is. And in fact, we discuss that when we go to the legislatures. My team, our team here in the Broome, Tioga, Southern Tier area has now been going to just about every legislature within 2 hours, because this message has to be dispensed throughout our region. We've had an incredible reception at the Tioga legislature when we presented about 6 weeks ago. And right now, as I stand here before you, this resolution is right now in subcommittee and hopefully going to be voted on tomorrow night to go to the full floor. So if you guys would please give a call to William, what's his last name? Okay, we'll get it for you. But I'm sorry, so many names. But quite honestly, it is right on the floor of the Tioga legislature. And we have high confidence that, especially with Sheriff Howard pushing this forward, just like Sheriff Schiff down in Sullivan, that Tioga and Sullivan will be the first legislatures, we hope, fingers crossed, to get this into Albany. This is what we need. We've also presented at quite a few, and in fact, this week we'll be up in the Onondaga legislature, which is Syracuse. So Tioga is front and center. We actually made a presentation in the town of Barton. Does everybody know where that is? They were so blown away that they excused us. We went upstairs and they voted on the resolution then and there, because they said this is mind-blowing that this is happening. It's not a question of whether this is Tioga election, Board of Elections at issue. That's really not the issue, okay? It's really a statewide issue. And the state database is 21 million lines of code, 70% of which is allocated to all 62 counties. Now you say, wow, can they see all the data? And the answer is no. If you're in Westchester, you can't see what's going on in Tioga or Broome or Chemung. You cannot see anything outside your band of data.
Can I
Yes.
interrupt you for just a second? Be careful, you're on
Yeah.
board.
Oh, thank you, Rusty. Thank you, because I'm klutzy. But you can't see anything outside your band of data. And then what our data researchers found is that there's 70% of the lines of data, I'm watching it, 70% of the lines of data are allocated to the 62 counties. So what's going on with the other 30%? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. They could be manipulated. As I told you, I have, me personally, 4 IDs. My kids each have 2. We've been to, actually, we were in Shenango in a subcommittee, and one of the legislators said, wait a minute, my dead next door neighbor is still getting 6 absentee ballots. And somebody else said that one of their relatives was getting an inordinate number of ballots. So I guarantee you somebody in this room knows of somebody that is either dead and still voting, God forbid, and or is getting a whole mitt full of absentee ballots. And this is happening statewide. So we here need to take responsibility and actually stand up and say, hey guys, We need to audit this and see what's going on. And that's what we're asking you for. I can tell you that the town of Owego proudly was the first town in Tioga County to pass this resolution. They were absolutely wonderful. And so we're trying to focus our efforts. We've been so busy in the legislatures. We haven't gotten to every town, but we were very excited to come to the village tonight and present before you. So in closing, I just gave you my argument. You've heard it from Linda and from Mark. If you take a look at auditny.com, you'll see videos of us presenting at the legislatures. The response we get is overwhelming. The Sullivan legislators were clapping because people are so excited to see that something is indeed happening. This is a nonpartisan effort. We don't care how you vote. We don't care whether you're independent, conservative, Democratic. That's not the issue. The issue is when you have multiple votes for the same human being. Or maybe they're not even human beings. We don't know. And so we don't know who's manipulating the database. And that's really the most disconcerting part, is that it could be somebody at the state level. It could be somebody out of the state. I've heard a rumor, maybe fact, that the votes are actually sent out of state to be processed by two separate organizations. What's up with that? We're not looking at the machines. We're not looking at anything of that nature. We're looking at the database. So we ask you to take a look at the material, digest it. We're happy to answer questions. We're also happy to go to churches, to civic groups. We're happy to dispense this information because it's really important. Anybody have any questions? We thank you very much for your attention and your time, and we hope to be back next month.
Holly, it's a bunch of content for my records. Can you give me your last name? The one that's your last
I
name.
don't want to trip. Gruskay.
Gruskay.
Skay. And my phone number. Do you need my phone number?
No, just.
Okay.
Just for
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for all the info. We will check it out. We're still in public comment.
Till 10.
Anybody else? Good.
Oh, but one more thing.
Okay.
If you want to push this forward at a legislature level, just call the clerk of the legislature. I know everybody's watching the board now, right? Just call the clerk of the legislature because they were very much in support, as was Sheriff Howard. So I don't know, the sheriffs seem to be glomming onto this. Okay.
All right. Anybody else, public comment? We'll move on to everything else. All right. We'll be back to public comment. Yeah, no worries. All right, our next item is, let's do Dirk, so you can go home and go on. Okay. This is the only department that came to separate to us.
Okay.
Okay, try to do short and sweet. Month of October, haulers brought 494,000 gallons of septage, or around about $26,000 of operational cost material. We had a couple of decent days, so we got to move another 31.2 cubic yards to get us set up for winter accumulations. Recently, past 3 weeks or so, we had a little bit of vandalism outside of our septic receiving building. So I took it upon myself to buy and install a security camera out there. Hope maybe in the future we'll get some more. One little update, the DEC will be visiting us next Monday, the 13th, to start doing some sampling for the PFAS that everybody's worried about. They want to test our influent, effluent, and our pressed solids see if we have it, how much we have, and where it is. They've left us with a lot of questions about everything, but when we see them, we'll get to ask, and then we'll keep you guys updated for that. Part 2 of phase 3 is pretty much done. The new generator is in, it's hooked up, it's been tested, it's working. We actually had a power outage last week and works beautiful. They set it up on a weekly just non-load test, so we know. And then starting tomorrow through the rest of the week, they will be coming in to finish part 3 of removing the old generator and giving us a room back. And that's it for me.
I have a question for you. Can you send me the report, the emailed report of the tunnel?
Oh, you got the slide thing?
Yeah, yeah, it had like the pictures of the problems.
Yeah, I have that right on my desk. Try to get that to you.
So maybe let's look that over and see the, plan of attack.
If there is one.
Yeah, right, that's been an issue for a long time. The good news is that it appears not to be getting worse, but it's not getting any better either.
Well, there's gotta be a start and an end, and when's it gonna get to that end?
Right. Yeah, that's gonna be an issue eventually. Anybody else have anything for sewage plant? I don't see anything on the agenda for you guys, so.
No.
Hang around as long as you want. We'll get some sleep. Or, it's probably wrong, it wasn't. Oh, somebody changed it. All right, let's do, since they're here, we'll do the fire station door thing. This is mainly just a discussion to figure out what we want to do. I'll leave it up to you guys. Who wants to start?
I'll start.
Go ahead, Steve.
I didn't spell it. It's been with me the whole time. Can I see one of those papers with the murals on? Just so curious. Yeah. I'm just curious. Rotary clubs. Very nice.
Yeah, no, we did a nice job.
This is a good thing you brought to the table. Right here. I'm not against this. I'm 100% for this. I actually work with kids that do this. This is what, for those who don't know, we are Stiletto's Fine Arts Studio. We're based out of Vestal, New York. We are on Vestal Parkway. 9 years in the community, 607 area code. Through COVID and everything. You wouldn't believe the amount of hell I've caught every time I've given a price for a mural. And the eyebrows I've had raised. Just.
I'm not suggesting your work.
No, I'm not, but.
Don't get me wrong.
I'm not. But to value art, you must practice it. Okay? To give my value to my artwork.
Steve, I don't mean to be rude,
No.
but
I just want
address the board and please do it this way, because
Okay.
I can't hear you as you're
No,
talking
fine.
to them. Thank you, I appreciate it.
When I just want to say something, and this could cost me a million, so be it. So be it. Because for 6 months now, I've been trying to put murals in Owego. 6 months. The Owego You Are Here map, it would have been done by now. But there's a board member that didn't want me to do it. I'll put it out there. It would have been done by now. I gave a price quote for $37,000. Oh yeah, you want to know why? They wanted me to be a mortar. They wanted me to fix the wall. They wanted me to put it piece by piece. They wanted me to get permits. They wanted me to work around PennDOT or New York State DOT, Tioga County Highway Department. Everything outside of just being an artist. Well, I did it. I did my very best. And I said 37,000 because I don't know how to be a mason. When you start pulling down paint, you start looking at damage. Anyone who's ever done construction, paint can hide a lot of bad stuff. You start pulling that down, you run into a whole bunch of issues. You have me put something piece by piece by piece because you want it back exactly the way it is. It's going to take me a long time to do that. I offered to take it down fix the wall, and put it all back up the way it is. I could do that because my team has that kind of talent. That's what we do. But it didn't happen, and that's fine. It's, it's okay. I asked for Mayor Mike to come into my office. I had a talk with him. We had a beautiful talk. He didn't really know why he was coming, and my wife started saying stuff. And I was like, hold on, Mike doesn't know why he's here. And I was like, I don't want to ruin any relationship with Owego. I am from Owego. I myself ended up homeless October 31st, 2016. My wife saved me. I was making $100 a week. I was paying $400 for a truck payment on liability insurance. I could barely get insurance. October 31st. You know how cold it is.
Yeah, I know.
I slept in back of trucks too, my man. I slept on the bridges. I done all of it. I feel for you. I started crying. I feel for that. We give back to people like that to our art studio. We take our money and we donate that to people like him. I open my doors to people like him. I don't need to know his story. He's cold. That's all I need to know. He needs a place to go. I'm fine. I can handle myself. I'm a burly man. It breaks my heart. When I do this art business, and we made it through COVID, me and my wife slept on our studio floors. We had to sleep on our studio floors. I had a choice to give up on my dream or push through and believe in something that was near impossible. To make a career as an artist. Someone to buy you hardworking people would have to buy my artwork for me to be successful. How do I price that? Without making you turn away. Because anything I say over 100, it seems like people go, well, hey, we'll trade in our $1,500 phones every year, no problem. We'll go buy $1,000 65-inch TVs, which they're $400 now. But the point is, we'll buy it, no problem. We don't talk about that. We'll go buy expensive cars just to show our friends how nice it looks, not what it can do, not the mileage you can get, the mechanics and any of that. No one looks into that. Just how nice does it look? That's it. It seems like that's what people just to spend money. When I put a price tag on artwork, it's with compassion. It's with time. This is a career. A lot of people don't have that. I know hundreds of artists that would love to do what I do and have a career at it. I'm grateful by God, and I give him the glory first. And I give my wife the second one because she taught me. When Mike came to me and I presented an idea to him, he said, hey, what if you do something like this? We can have a board meeting. I can present it to you guys. I'm from Vestal. I don't know how people feel about that. I'm not Owego, but I am Owego. I spent 16 years of my life in this town. I don't know if anyone knows Wild Bill Whitman. If you ever heard of that name.
Yeah.
That was my father. You know him.
Yeah, I know.
That guy had messed up more times than he probably been arrested by everybody in this town. Lenny Jackson, Steven Sisquire, Judge Bone. You go to them, they all know him. Biggest mess up in the world. Guess who got judged for that? I did. I got judged for that in this town. But I didn't turn my back on you guys. I love this town. I spent 26 different homes, 13 different schools in foster care. The reason I came here so many times is because they kept throwing me around in the system. Just disperse me, go here, go there. No one wants to spend time with me. I carry that with my shoulder. That labeled me. How am I supposed to be successful if all anybody want to do is judge me for someone else's actions? Crazy, right? There's so many burdens that I carry, and it's okay. And there's so many judgment that happens to me. It's okay. Only God can judge me, and that's what I live by. Tupac Shakur said that, and that's my man. No offense. I'm going somewhere with this, okay? When Mike talked to me, the mural is actually worth $15,000. 100%. I'm underbidding hardcore. And so is my buddy Bruce Gregg. Bruce Gregg did 350 murals, has made over $7 million collectively doing artwork. The most experienced mural artist probably in this country, to be honest. He's on my team. God, that Wiggle You Are Here map would have been beautiful. Would have been gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous what we would have done to it. Fantastic. But it's not here or there. When Mike brought this to my attention, I'm getting choked up because one, I got a guy here who I feel for him, and that threw me off balance, to be honest. I feel for you, brother. Secondly, the reason I'm so passionate about this mural and I really want to do it, I don't know if anyone remembers a car accident that happened October 14th, 2020, around 17C. A volunteer firefighter Crystal Van Duzen lost her life. Crystal Van Duzen was my biological sister. DJ Van Duzen, chief now, Tioga County Fire Department, is his wife. That's his wife. I can't tell you how much that destroyed me, losing my sister. Before that, I had to bury another sister, due to other things. She was a volunteer firefighter, and what made her great is she wasn't the one driving the truck. She wasn't the one, holding the hose. She was the one going to get the water bottles. She was the one going to get the bags. She was the one holding the wound if it needed to be held. She was the go-getter, and she did it for 12 years. She removed herself from the emergency services for this reason. I had to talk with her before she died. I couldn't believe the way she did. Crystal, why'd you remove yourself? She was having grand mal seizures. She was EMS. I made a more of a joke, say, well, the best place to have a seizure would be an ambulance, I believe. So, you're safe there. And she's like, no, I'm not. And I go, what's so special about this? I go, you don't get paid. And no offense to those. I have to ask. I don't know. And I have to ask, what's so special about it? Helping people. Making a difference. This is what she said to me before she died. I wish she was here, but she's not. That's why this is so important to me. It might not be my sister going on that door, but it is my sister going on that door. Okay? It is. And that's why I want to do the firefighters on the door. It's so important to me to want to do this mural. Whether you guys voted in or not, it's okay. I hold no good grudge. I don't. You guys do what you gotta do. You look out for your town. I love Owego, and I always will. I call Owego home. I don't have a home really. Home is where I make it. Owego is it. I love Owego. I love this town. Love everything about it. I personally would like to do this. I do feel $8,000 is not a lot. I told you I will have no problem. I'm local. If something happens to it, guys, come get me. Don't let the problem, if something happens, I believe, by the sounds of it, you guys are having a shortage of firefighters. That breaks my heart. I can't volunteer here. I'm from Vestal. Me out there coming here just won't work. It would if you guys let me. I'd do it. I don't care. If you need help, I'm a brother. I'll come help you guys. So where I'm getting at is, I don't know how you guys want to spend your money. I can't lower the price anymore. And it's okay if people want to say something for that. I applaud this lady. To get up and hand you stuff. Hey, let's go see if we can do alternate arrange. Let's see how else we can spend our money. I don't have a problem with that. Yeah, it's money I could use. But she went out and resourced this and said, hey guys, here, I don't know if you knew about this. That's awesome. If I got to start a fire like that, that's cool. Let it start. I don't want to be the only artist. There's so many, you guys have so many blank walls, it drives me nuts. It drives me bonkers. Okay, and I'm sitting there go, oh God, I could do this. Ghost murals, if you've ever heard of them. You guys have tons of those. Coca-Cola banners, all that. All that could be remodeled. Behind on Lake Street, there's a Napa sign. I don't know the name of this. You know what I'm talking about? Champion spark plugs. There's that. I can help you guys with that. But I came down here. I wanted to attend this meeting, and I'm gonna be honest. You can ask my wife. I was a nervous wreck because it seems like no matter how hard I try to put a mural in this town, it seems like there's something that wants to prevent me from doing it, and I don't understand. As an artist, I've seen what art does, and it's a lot more than what people can understand. It saves lives. It does things. That mural alone, I could firmly stand back and watch it. People will drive over 100 miles to come see something like that. I know they do. Because when you have something special, you have to drive to go see it. If I want to go see the Abraham Lincoln, guess where I gotta go? The statue. I gotta go down to Washington, D.C. I'll drive there. It's a landmark. It's something beautiful. I use him because I think, I like Abraham Lincoln. But the point being is you have to drive to go see something. People are willing to drive. You brought up people will take pictures from it. Sure they will. Let them tag your town. Hey, this is here. There's firefighters around the 607 and probably come see it. Wow, can I come see this? Brothers, you guys can meet them, shake hands. Maybe they have relatives. Hey, these guys need volunteers. Who knows what it could start? It could start a whole bunch of things. I don't really have a finishing line to this. I just wanted to say that because if anything, if it wasn't to happen, I want to make sure I walked out here knowing at least I said something. I can't go to sleep tonight staring at the ceiling going, oh, I should have said something because of nerves. And it takes a lot to stand up here and say something to you guys. It does. I'm gonna be honest. I normally don't get nervous, but I'm a nervous wreck right now. That's why I'm folding the paper like crazy. So just forgive me. But, you know, I did want to say that if there's anything you guys want to ask me about the mural, you're more than welcome. You know, I'm here to answer any questions. You know, you know, I don't know what else to say from there. I just wanted to say that. Okay. So I'm gonna be honest, I showed a lot of people it, and it's amazing what the response is at. Yours was the best, I'm gonna be honest. I'm around telling everybody and telling them what they think. His jaw dropped. He was just like, and you understood because you're from the cities. You've seen this stuff, and it's magical what it does. You know? So, I mean, that's all I got, guys. Do you have anything for me? I'm here to answer questions. I got my wife. Yes.
Can I say something?
Sure.
Hi, my name's Rebecca. Stefan asked he stated what's a really good thing. How do you value art? Yeah, I understand when sidewalks are crumbling, how important it is to have safe sidewalks to walk on and all of this stuff. I couldn't even dispute that. I wouldn't dispute that. I just wouldn't. I wouldn't at all. I've been doing art for a long time. I've been teaching people art for a long time. I've taught over 30,000 people art, and I've seen the benefit that art in many forms can have on people's hearts and souls, and the impact that it can make on people, on towns, on communities, on children, everything. There's people who walk around this world feeling hopeless, and they can't talk about it. They can't communicate how they feel, and they need a way to outlet. They need a way to express feelings. Art lets you do that, whether it's by viewing it internally and feeling a connection with it, or by creating it. Either way, art can save people's lives. You don't know, that mural encompasses so many different things. It has a patriotic feel to it. It says we the people. It can tie the town together. It can tie people together. It has firefighters on there who are faceless because they're all heroes. And what hero needs a face? They just show up. They show up and do their job without asking for recognition. They don't need their face to be shown. They just need to show up. So does the ambulance drivers, the police officers, and anyone who gives back to their communities. You guys give back to your community. Sometimes by taking all of that stuff and putting it in an art form and giving it back to a town or a village or community, it can raise morale. It can raise the hearts and the spirit of a town in ways that you guys cannot measure on any computer printout you could ever do, you could ever have. It can impact this town in ways that you guys won't even see. But it will impact the town. It will impact the village. It will impact the county, and it will impact communities around the county if you allow it to be put up. And again, I'm all for sidewalks and everything being fixed. That stuff's so important. That's not why we're here. We want to give back. We want to give you something that other people can't give you. I teach children art all the time. I love kids' murals. Love it. Love it. I would teach 1,000 kids to put 1,000 murals up in this town, and believe me, I can do it. This mural would be beautifully done by this team. It is on a main part of the street, and it will help change a lot of things for a lot of people in here. And when you can change things in here, you can change everything out here. That's just how I personally feel about it in my experience, and I like to kind of put that out. Again, we understand everything else involved. It would beautify your town beautifully, or your village. I keep saying town, sorry. Thank you.
It's going to town vessel. I think this one.
Can I say something? Sure. I gotta say, I'm like one of the biggest advocates for this project to go through. I was a director of sales. I was sent to school or class for this. I didn't know what director of sales meant for these 3 hotels: the Hampton Inn, the Treadway it was called at the time, and Holiday Inn Express. Actually, it was in Vessel that I first went for Candlewood Suites. Homewood and Holiday Inn Express. They sent me to a class. I became director of sales. At this class that I didn't have any skills for and couldn't fathom why they want me for the job, they couldn't teach me anything that I already knew. They labeled me, I can sell ice cubes to Eskimos. That's what they said. And I believed it because I didn't need anything that they were going to teach me because I already knew it. Trying to push for this project, I didn't need any of those skills because your work did it all. I passed around my phone at the fire board meeting, showing everybody that was on, the chief, everybody. There was not one person who did not agree this was a work of art and what it would do to our town. I could not agree more. The thing was, and the question was, where's the money gonna come from? And that's the biggest thing. We had ideas for this and that, but no matter what you do, there's gonna be somebody who thinks the money should have gone here. And there are projects that money is going towards. It's just, it took 6 years to get there. Things are starting to break ground. Parking, the parks, different things, sidewalks, this stuff is gonna be done. It's in the process of happening, you know? So we gotta come up with other things on the side to make things happen for things that didn't happen. Like I said, we lost this art park deal, that would have been great. We had all these goals and ideas and things that, because it's just something, just for a little space where if you're coming through town, you just gotta glance because you don't wanna rear end anybody going through North Avenue, and you gotta watch out for the trucks. But it's something you're gonna take time to at least try to glance out of the side of your eye to capture. And if you didn't, you gotta catch it on the way back. Or better yet, park and experience it. And if we can have a few of those objects to turn your head back and forth, the underpass, that would be coming and going. Woo-hoo, look at this. You gotta go there again. And by the way, I think I saw some shop that I wanted to stop at.
How's you looking?
You know? That wall on John's Fine Foods. Yeah.
Boy.
Obviously, the Owego wall. I've seen that sign, I've seen it crumble, and it just breaks my heart. Because art does something to people. I know it's done it to me. I was really taken aback when we lost that deal with the art park, because I had so many ideas. Cheap ones. I wanted to go out for people who just wanted to donate something just so they could see their work in the park, you know? Because we didn't have that much money to spend on art. But now we don't have that opportunity, but if we can still capture some of that. I don't know if I speak just for myself, but for many of the board members and anybody else who wants to see the town go good again. I almost said that phrase. But I'm a resident here. I don't just sit on the board. I actually play a resident in real life. And I would like to see that. So like I said, we got to come up with some kind of way to, I mean, I'll stand in the middle of the street with a boot, try to get some donations, whatever it costs, whatever. And it's not just spending money on a picture, painting. It's, we getting maintenance and everything that's involved that was mentioned, you know. It's not, I don't think it's offensive what's going up. I don't think it's patriotic. It's an American flag, firefighters, and an eagle. Wow, we just went through a whole big thing about getting a, what's the name of that bird? River hawk.
We're changing that. We're changing that to Wolverines.
No, wait really hard. Sorry.
But see what art does to people. It gets them up, gets them talking, gets them up in arms. And if this is a good thing, I think it's a good thing. Just gotta come up with the money. Find a way that if what we spend, it doesn't come out to be seeming frivolous. It's to benefit in the long run. I think there's a lot of benefits. Hope I didn't talk everybody's ears off. I'm very passionate about this, you know. I appreciate that. man. That's all I got for now.
You know, I agree. I think we need to find a way to do it. I don't think we can decide on it tonight, though. I mean, so we, you know,
Money's always the hardest part.
It is.
I think the idea is good.
Mr. Mayor, when it's time,
Rusty?
I'd like to ask a couple quick questions of Steve.
Sure.
The short answer, please.
Let's
Um,
step into it.
there was not time to do that in this fall season. That's gone by. What was the quick answer about when things are open in the spring season for to do something like this?
Like a start date?
Yeah,
Like if I was giving a start
just a
date?
general time, what you were
I
thinking,
mean-
because you got lots of stuff going on, who knows?
Yeah, what do we have? What's April, May? Around late April, early
Okay.
May.
Okay.
You know,
Yep.
we got 6 months.
No,
easy.
that's fine. So,
Unless you get unprecedented, like, super warm weather before that.
so I have a couple of thoughts.
Okay.
I kind of like a slightly different idea. And we're not sure exactly how that art park's gonna go yet, because we don't know what the state's gonna make us do or what they're gonna let us do. But I kind of like an idea of that or some mural on the side of the fire station facing the art park. Did you look at that at all?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's just, the steamer house is gonna go there, so.
No, the steamer house will be there, but it's gonna be glass and yes, there'll be a thing there.
That was the idea I submitted to them.
But
Right,
what,
the original.
but I kind of like the idea of it being there on the side of the fire station. And once again, we'll see what happens with an art park or whatever else we do with that hole, because we might make that into something anyways. So a little bit of me likes that. I would like us to, if we're interested, try to find funding for it this winter as we go along. And as we're moving the monies around, didn't we hold $150,000 for art from the art park? Maybe, I don't want to decide that this minute, maybe we take 10 grand out of that 150 for art that we held, which we were kind of sniffing at hiring some artists to create 3 different art things at $50,000 a piece. Maybe $10,000 of that art money we're holding could go, but I'd still prefer it on the side of the building instead of on the doors. But maybe a touch of that DRI money, which we don't have the ability to spend on all of the things that we need that money for, that the state tells us what we have to do with that. Maybe that's a way we can fund that. Just a thought.
Problem there will be the building it's on.
About the building it's on?
Location probably has to be within one of the projects.
Well, you know what? I mean, if we're gonna move that money out of the art park, where was that art gonna go? You know, there's talk about putting something on North Avenue here. That's not in the middle of a project, or here or there. None of those are things are project. So maybe it's just, maybe we can get that piece of funding. So another thing for us to explore. So that's where I'm sitting on this, and I'm with Fran, as much as you'd like to know, I don't think that we're gonna decide tonight what we're gonna do, but I think that we're interested in something, depending on, and we're certainly interested in, we got people to go out for grants, maybe we can get a grant. Anyways, we have some possibilities. I like that side of the building, and for whatever park we put in there, we're gonna put something in there.
Yeah.
Parking lot park, whatever. Anyway, that's mine.
We own that piece of land.
That's right. And it is, and you know what, that building, you know what? Kind of everything there is gonna be, whatever we do there is part of the art park. That steamer thing was gonna be kind of part of the art park. And so could that be, and we talked about the fence between us and Allied Technology, and maybe putting something up on that fence in the way of murals and stuff, because we didn't want our park looking back at that factory there. So anyway, a thought.
All good thoughts.
So, can I get?
Sure.
You have $150,000 left of DRI money.
Not that we can spend any way we want, I can tell you that.
Right.
Yeah.
The
Well,
stipulation.
I thought if you
So-
didn't finish a project and
DRI money, you had to give it back to the state of New York.
So we're in process of moving, which the state has to approve all this, has to all get a comptroller. Moving the art park construction money to other projects to cover the bids that came in.
Within the DRI.
As part of that process, we held the art budget still as the art budget.
So unless the state can take that money back, they don't actually want to, but they can, and but we have to always get their permission to what we're gonna do with it.
So I guess my question lies in when the Court Street parking lot got paved and you were supposed to pave the whole back alley because we had to sign an easement and it didn't get paved. And then you asked Tim and I to pay for it after you already had money to pay for it. Where did that money go?
So that specific project, that got credited back, and then we ended up spending it on more costs of that project again.
So similar nature of a project you're saying.
Right. So like, we didn't have to dig up the back alley, but we had to do 100 feet the other way. That we weren't
Well,
in the scope to start with.
well, but no, you told me that you had to give money back to the state.
No.
Yeah, no, yeah, you did. That's,
Then it was an error, then that was spoken in error.
never mind, I'm sorry, that's what this meeting isn't
Then
for
it
that,
was
but.
spoken in error.
Washed out. But
But if there's DRI money specifically for art,
there is,
that's a different story.
there is, and it's still there.
And almost every, can I speak? Almost every one of these projects is coming in way more expensive than they awarded us or than we thought. So any monies that we have any place in DRI get gobbled up immediately on a different project that's way over budget. So that's a big problem.
Well, I can talk about this also.
Yep.
Because you're saying two different things now.
Oh, yeah. And in a second, I'm gonna say something else different, yeah.
That's why we love you, Rusty.
Once James tells us different stuff.
Let James explain it all.
Well, yeah. We
As
will.
far as the fire station doors, just my feeling, I think we're interested, but the money is the sticky part.
There's all kinds of cool art things. I don't know if you've ever seen or heard of Sebastopol, California, little town north of San Francisco. You drive around, I think there's something like 100 random metal sculptures in people's yards. They have calendars, they have a big fair, people go through there all the time. I think Portland's a huge city, but they're the rose city and they do all of their things. A nice thought out thing that ties it all together can have huge impact, no question.
Oh, I know those statues. Mark Bullwinkle did a bunch of those. Another story.
But what I love about this is the idea that we have our own homegrown artist donation, right planted right here, that we can say, somebody from Owego did this.
Why not just pave the art park and make North Avenue the art park? Well, I mean.
There's suggestions to do that.
Walls all over North Avenue.
There are suggestions to do that.
That's not a horrible idea. What is it, 81 North Avenue, right next to the diner, one of the ghost murals up there of, Old Durham tobacco.
But can I address that real quickly? Because we're gonna get away from this now. But the answer to your exact question is, why not do this? Because the state is not privy to letting us have the art park become North Avenue. That doesn't mean everything's impossible, but that's a big complication. Not a bad idea.
I wish they just gave us a check and said, here, do what you want to do.
That's what we wanted, a $10 million check. So folks, I don't know what the board has decided. We haven't decided anything, but I hope you're catching the gist that we're not going to make a decision. I know you keep getting strung along, but we have interest in stuff. And if we can find a way, I think we have significant interest in.
We offer and do fundraisers all of the time through our art studio. We do fundraisers, paint class fundraisers through the community. And we'd be willing to help with the fundraising if the fire station would be willing to help host them, where 50% of whatever is made, the other 50 has to pay for our teacher in our cost. But of the classes that we teach people for the community to all go back into your guys' fund towards this, if you'd be willing to do it.
Couldn't be more grateful.
We did it in Acton for the seniors going on their school trips, and it helped pay for a good portion of their school trips, which added up many years in a row in the high school. So it is doable for a good portion of it, and we're happy to do it with you guys.
That right there, just to throw it, not to drag this out. When we do that, it's normally $40 a person. We give half of the house stake to you guys. So we normally, when we do these kind of things, we keep the painting within a 2-3 hour range, so everyone's excited and they want to come back. We control the room. Normally, there's about anywhere from $800 to $1,000 that night that me and my wife are cutting checks for to donate. Here you go.
Depending on how much.
And to be honest, what we're basically saying is we're willing to come in, teach, give you the money. So that way, after we teach, you can give us back the money.
This is getting better. Don't stop. This is getting better and better.
You know? Hey, well, listen.
Well, you get your community involved that way, then they feel like they own it.
Right. You know, we're willing to do this for you guys. We're willing to do anything. I mean, we understand if we had the money, if we could afford to do this for free, we would. We would. We've already talked about. We already talked about doing it for free.
We gotta pay Bruce though.
Yeah, we gotta pay our other artists. And he doesn't. Yeah, he needs to be paid.
So maybe we'll work on some fundraising stuff.
Something.
We got the winner.
Anything to help you guys. You know, that's what we do.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah,
Thank you guys.
Yes. Yeah.
You guys have a wonderful evening.
You too. All right.
All right, go ahead.
All right, moving along. Department head reports. Well,
Is that your son?
Oh, he's gonna be. I'm gonna adopt him. Actually, yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Mike.
Thank you.
Guys, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Russ.
Mike, could I recommend that we
Oh, yeah, let's do
keep
James.
James here till midnight? Could we do James and get him out of here? And then, because there's some other department things to be done.
I didn't have him on the agenda because I forgot he was coming. I did, like, a while ago.
Wrong night you came.
I did ask you to come, I forget why.
Don't worry, I'll remind you here.
I forget.
So, I mean, primarily, I want to give you guys a brief update on the construction projects, how they're going, some of the things that have come up, and some decisions as well that are kind of in your guys' court, which will turn out to be fun.
Yes, it will.
So the bathhouse is the big project we're really trying to push for Marvin Park this year, getting all that stuff done. Some things we immediately ran into were, the sewer line being, the wrong direction and damaged up to a certain pipe. Luckily, it wasn't all the way back to the building, so we had a change order to replace that, and then the large septic tank that needed to be removed. So that total is running us around $39,000, which luckily is within our field change budget, is completely covered. But you can see how that field change budget of $50,000 isn't going very far. We do have another 27,000 potentially that we had allocated to be shifted into Marvin Park as an additional contingency, because that, if you recall, the $50,000 budget was based on $1 million project. Well, it's a $2 million project now, so arguably the contingency should be closer to 100,000 for that, or the field change allowance. So between the sanitary update and that, so we've only got about 11,000 left in that. Once the state eventually approves it, that amount could go up. But that brings us to our basketball courts. So 12 inches of asphalt. When they went to take this thing out, 12 inches of asphalt on top of 6 inches of coal ash. I'm not sure who or what was the original construction plans on that, but that's not standard. So all of that has to come out, has already come out. On top of that, we're finding that the sub base is extremely moist. We're trying to roll it, and even the lightweight machines are they're sinking down into this muck. And essentially what happens is if you put your fabric your material down and then you go to pave it, that heavy paving equipment starts to push up the geofabric, it starts to damage the soil, and then you get asphalt that's, basically looks like it was paved over mud.
Who's asphalt?
Which is essentially this, but
Who's asphalt? Sorry.
I think it was whoever's asphalt around 6 or 7 inches that you guys reached. But so we're working on trying to come up with a solution to that. I've reached out to Fred. One of the cheaper options would be to try to get some material from you guys, either from the Tioga County or from you. If someone has some stone, some dry stone, it really doesn't matter what the grade is or specification, but it has to be dry cobble type stone, and we'll press it into the soil just to try to firm it up. And that will, reduce the overall cost to that. The big problem is, as of right now, the contractor isn't willing to warranty the asphalt unless you put in 24 inches of gravel and 2 layers of fabric, which is astronomical.
How to get you?
So my solution will be significantly cheaper potentially, but there's not an exact number on that. But
Your solution being that we get some stone from.
yeah, if you guys can supply the stone and you just have them roll it, we're still looking at about $30,000 for that change, because they had to take out, we were only planning on them taking out, 8 to 10 inches of asphalt and then repairing a bit of subbase. Now, instead of the entire court, they had to take out 12 inches of asphalt and then 6 inches of coal ash across the entire base of that. So it's.
Would concrete be cheaper, James? No?
No, it'd be more expensive.
Yeah, you wouldn't need to go down 24 inches.
Well, the problem is trying to keep it stable. So for example, with that unstable subgrade, if you pour concrete on top of that, it's going to bend and flux, and then your concrete will be in tension. If you know anything about concrete, it's super strong in compression, but it has 0 tension. So as soon as you have any tension on the concrete, you start getting cracks and damages everywhere. And that's exactly why the contractor is like, we'll do whatever you want. We'll put in exactly the way it is in the plans. We'll do whatever, but we're not warranting it. So, what's the first?
Would we have access to, would the creek stone work for this?
Creek stone would be excellent for it.
Boy, there's a ton of that.
We have a creek.
We got a ton of that stuff. That might be our play.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know who. I reached out to Fred. His first suggestion was asphalt millings, but it's too fine a material that won't work at all. So please reach out to me, whoever to get in contact. I bet you the contractor would even be willing to go grab it for you.
It's right in the park almost.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. You have to move it out.
So I'm gonna be here tomorrow doing a final walkthrough for the parking lots. I can get with the contractors and point them in the right direction. I just need you guys to tell me what's what.
Problem is, I don't know whose stone that is. That's not here.
Well, after 9 PM, is it in?
Right, yeah, we go get it now, right.
It's so dark.
It's dark.
That'll take some stones.
Have we thought about this, because a bunch of us thought about this, as we're going to do the playground and various things we're going to do there with what we have to put down there? That stuff is going to be all leached from Whitesman down there, and that's not going to be good when you start playing with that soil.
Yeah, that doesn't matter though, because it's not.
Oh, yeah, we're not putting in concrete. I'm just talking about pollution or anything on the soil there too.
No, there's no requirements for that, because for the new playground equipment, all you're putting down is concrete piles essentially.
Okay.
They're just gonna go right into the soil. You don't even really need to do a large excavation. You just auger it out and then place the precast piles in.
Just hope we're
Yep, so.
prepared for that trouble.
So I want to say oh yeah, no, that's all straightforward. Nothing we're doing with any of these projects is particularly complicated. We've hit everything that you could have even imagined. If we would have talked about some of these issues beforehand, I would have told you guys you were being ridiculous and that it was a bomb. Oh, why not just build everything as a bomb shelter? But, well, kind of need a bomb shelter, so. But for what it's worth, I don't anticipate any issues with any of that.
we're putting down material for that, so we're not excavating, so we shouldn't have anything down for that. Yeah.
James, the test samples for the art park, everything that came back, it turned out to be no big deal from the reports. It was just like when they
I wouldn't
filled
say that
that,
it's no big deal.
well, when they filled it with like some old dirt. They found that they just filled it in with something that was not so clean. And so, the state maybe could say, we could easily remedy that by, just some slurry fill that we produce already from the, from our haulers and cleaning stuff. We make all this dirt anyway. Can't we refresh that soil and continue on with this project? Why would the state, the state seeing those results, why would they cancel the project when, if we're gonna just push this money towards Marvin Park, when that phase 2 would be over the amount of money? Like there's so many projects and we're not getting anything that's like a transformational thing that they were asking for. Like we were saying that we could maybe push our park money towards Marvin Park to come up with a balance, but we're not delivering the things that they wanted to see in Marvin Park. So why would they approve the Marvin Park like over expenditure when we're not really getting a deliverable that they're looking for, with the project?
I'm not sure what you mean by we're not delivering what we said we were in Marvin Park.
Like they wanted a transformational project,
And to be
we're
clear,
just redoing stuff that already exists. Like, we removed the tennis court and we're, going to replace that. We removed the bathhouse, we're going to replace that. We're removing and replacing some playground equipment. We're removing a fence and replacing that. We're removing the pillars. But, and then phase 2 would be the skateboard park. And we already have a skateboard park. So like there's nothing new that we're getting out of this. And so why would the state allow us to like remove a project where there'd be something new and transformational in a downtown area and allow us to spend money on stuff where we're just replacing stuff that sort of broke down over the years that we didn't fix up?
okay, so a couple questions. The state didn't tell us not to do the art park or anything like that. And the state didn't say it was not a big deal. The state has a tendency to not see things the same way as you would. The soil remediation stuff that would have been required at the art park isn't a big deal in the terms of completely shutting down a project. It is a big deal when we've went to bid with 3 projects and they've all come back $2-3 million over, and then we have this is already $1 million budget. We're pinching all of the pennies on this. There is nothing pointing to the art park as far as the budget that we have set to show that it will be a successful project. That's why we, me included, came to the decision that moving that money was the best option. We had to present that idea to the state in order for them to consider it. That was not directed from the state. The second part of that is the money going into Marvin Park is a set contract that the contractor has given us. Now, change orders happen, that kind of thing changes. There's nothing you can do about that. You can't foresee a lot of that stuff. But that number isn't all of a sudden going to be $1 million more. Okay? So, I mean, if, for example, if it does deny and we don't get all those changes to Marvin Park and we're doing that and somehow we try to push the money back over into the art park and then we big that, and then that comes over a whole bunch of money. Now we've lost half of Marvin Park and we still don't get our art park. So a lot of those decisions are based on hedging our bets towards being more successful. Now we can always look back and say, okay, if we had known all this way back when, we could have done these choices and it would have been safe. But that ignores the process of how we got to where we were. So at each point, we're presented, just like I am here now with you guys, we have decisions to make based on the information available, and we have to make those decisions in our best efforts to what is the best of the project. That's why the state is going to give us those money and going to do that, or at least I hope they will see them. I mean, Julie has reassured us that we are not in a unique scenario. Every single one of these DRI projects is having the same issues across, all of the different communities. These budgets are just, you can't anticipate something like COVID and the drastic changes of a lot of these projects. They were funded to you guys. I mean, we did the estimates to try to fit within the budget that we're giving you, but those monies were established for each of those projects long before Hunt got involved in any of this. We simply tried to meet the design for what it could be for those costs. But then even that, we're finding that allowing for 15% contingency and 5% field change orders, and it's just not enough to come up with the double price tag that we're finding for a lot of these projects. So what Julie is pushing for, and what we understand for the state, is that hopefully they're going to take this project and combine it into one pot of money for Owego to say, hey, you guys now have this, you no longer need to go to the state to move money around if you need to, but it needs to be done on these projects. Like, you still have to meet the goals, but as we've established, those goals are, very widespread, lots of obstacles. I mean, a lot of that's open to interpretation. The state does not want to take that money from you. And the truth is, they gave you however many millions of dollars, but the work that they approved is $25 million worth of projects. So, I mean, you had no problem spending the money, that's for sure. It's just a matter of trying to jump through the hoops that they've allocated for us to disperse the money as we see appropriate.
That would be fabulous if the state said, you could, so we've got these 3-4 projects or whatever, and you can move, not come up with a new project, something different. You can move the money. We'll give you control of the money. You move it around within the projects. That would be a fabulous thing. A little piece for me, just me, is I would like to do something in that pit, and we can't do the art part because we can't afford it. I'd like us to do some of the things they wanted us to do, which was create 24 parking spaces. I'd like us to pave half that thing over, create the parking spaces like we said we do. Wouldn't cost us $1 million. Don't have to do that whole stuff on the Central Avenue side, that we were going to do. Don't have to do everything we were going to do on the North Avenue side. If we're parking a bunch of cars down there, don't have to have handicap ramps down because you want to go down there. You drive down there, park your car down there. We could do that for not as just keep a minor amount of money in there and do that. The piece that we don't pave could be grassed up, and we can decide if we're going to put anything there, what we're going to put there. We could put the mural there and make the part of the art park. We could put some of Rodney's whirly gigs there. I wouldn't mind doing that at all. We wouldn't be spending that. Mill 2 that's going up to a Mill 6. Just another way. If we could have that money, give us more option about what we could do, and then move some of that extra money to some of these other places. So I know everything's late in the game, but the game changes every 10 minutes.
No, and I mean, I hope you guys believe me when I tell you that I'm, making my best effort for you guys to get the most out of, these projects for what you're given. This is my second lap through this, and it's been the same every time. I'm on these projects for almost 5 years, and by the time you meet all the requirements and spend all the money, it's not quite what you'd hope for, but it's free money.
So I want to throw one more piece in, and I will. Mike, I want to throw one more piece in, and I'll try to shut up. I know it's hard to shut me up. As I talk to the residents of this village, I don't find 5 of them. I talk to everybody all over the place. So I'm going to say this, it's going to be exaggerative. Almost nobody wants to spend the money we're going to spend on phase 2 at Marvin Park. They don't believe that that's the best way to spend that money. They don't want to do that. So as far as I'm concerned, if we.
So a quick question on that.
Yeah.
how did you guys get public support to go after the grant originally? Because we're not doing anything special in Marvin Park that is different from before.
Except that we're spending a whole bunch more money to do it.
Well, that is what it is, no matter how.
I understand that's what it is.
No
I'm
matter
just-
how you cut that. But saying that that money would be better off spent somewhere else, it's easy to say when you've got all like, $10 million worth of projects and 2 million. I mean, people are saying that they would rather not spend it on there. Where would they like to spend it?
Level the sidewalks.
Can't do that with DRI.
Of course, they don't understand all the rules of DRI, but they would like to spend it a whole bunch of different ways.
And
I know we have to be
guarantee you
within
couldn't
project.
get 10 of them together to agree on where to spend the money.
Probably true.
Yeah, this is complicated, but I'm just telling you how my constituents are telling me. They don't much like that phase 2. They don't want to spend that much money on that stuff. They would, even in Marvin Park, they'd rather spend it on something else. Just, that's the deal.
What is phase 2 again?
I'm happy to.
Does your constituents ride skateboards?
The constituents that I talk to, which is not a bunch of 17-year-old kids, don't want to spend the amount of money on a new skateboard park. They would rather that we keep that slab there and that we try to improve that slab rather than rip that all out and put a new thing in. What's the cost now of the skateboard park? Do you have off the top of your head? How much?
500,000.
It's 500, okay. I thought it was more than that, but, okay.
Well, yeah, there's a little bit more of that, but that's more associated with site work.
Yeah. Okay, I'm just giving it another piece.
I'm just thinking our youth needs something to do.
They do, I get it.
I really like that skate park that proposed.
Yeah.
They can do some improvement to what's on there.
I know that's a sore subject.
I mean, we got a pickleball court, we got a basketball.
Yeah, and we wanted that pickleball court to cost
We got a pool,
nothing.
and then we got our skateboarders, and that's gonna bring people from around who skate.
But I think where James was going is that pickleball court's gonna cost us an extra, at least $30,000.
Yeah, we wanted that to cost us next to nothing.
That's not the pickleball, that's just the thing.
The whole thing, when we wanted that in there, that whole deal, we wanted that to not cost us very much.
Pickleball park doesn't cost us any extra. Repaving that slab of blacktop is gonna cost us extra money.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm just throwing some more stuff out. I know it's always new stuff, new this. Boy, you want to change again, do you? Oh, yeah, all that.
And we haven't gotten to the issue why I told you to come.
No, let's get to it.
Yeah.
I'm done. Let's get to it.
As
I'd
always,
just like to comment on, this board
'Cause now our-
voted before to try to take the money from the art park, put it in Marvin Park.
Yes, we
We
did.
already voted on that before.
yeah, we did.
as always, as circumstances changed, I'm happy to provide you guys with additional updates. If for any reason you feel like you're out of the loop, you're unsure about anything, you guys all have my contact information. I feel like I try to be as in touch with you as possible. I'm not going anywhere. So whatever I could do to help you guys feel like you get the most out of this DRI money. And I can honestly say that I know there's this kind of like ominous feel of like, oh, the State Department, it's this nebulous figure in the sky. It's not. Julie Sweet, who we're working with, really wants to see us succeed and spend this money where we want. And she's advocating very strongly on your behalf to, well, all of the DRI people who are in our same position, but to try to make this easier for us.
And she did that during the DRI process when you folks were on the committee. They'd come in with all these rules and regulations and somebody would say, is there a way we can do this over here? And she'd say, well, we might be able to do that. And she's been very cooperative with us.
And she's pushing like to the comments of why don't we do a little bit here and not this, and what's transformational. The plans at Marvin Park haven't changed since the initial phase of that, as far as what we're gonna do. And Julie is pushing that the state is more favorable of us completing a whole project rather than 6 quarter projects, half projects. Because that one project is, even if it's just replacing stuff that we haven't maintained, it's still transforming, right? It's gonna be a brand new look for the park. That one park that we already maintain and have versus a little bit here and $50 over here and $50 over here.
If and when they demolish the skate park as it is now, can that material be used for something else, some other project, the concrete?
I mean, define some other project.
I don't know.
I mean,
Base of some sort.
It's fill material. I mean,
Yeah,
it's good.
can it be used?
I mean, if you were gonna do a parking lot and you needed to raise the grade or something, you could raise that up. Yeah, I mean, if you could go break it up, we could dump it into the courts, but unfortunately, the contractor's not gonna start that demo before he knows he's gonna get paid for it, so.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, so.
It's not just being discarded and being nothing. I mean, it can be used and be
If you guys
efficient.
if you guys wanted to keep that, they'd be more than happy to haul it off for you, but I mean, it'll just generally be wasted, yeah. I mean,
That's the part I don't like, the waste part.
Well, I mean,
It can be used somewhere else.
define waste. I mean, it's not gonna get buried in the ground somewhere. They're gonna go dump it into a quarry or something. Those guys are gonna break it down and use it for waste. I keep using the word waste, but in construction, waste isn't always garbage.
No, it's fill, like
it's
fill for
extra.
any other projects. that
Yeah,
go
but a
on.
lot of that,
Cut costs.
but you can only use it in very limited spaces because it needs to have a specification, and that's not going to meet any specification. But I mean, if you're just doing a parking lot, like I used to work at a testing lab, so when we break those cylinders, they would just dump it out back, and eventually they have a base for a parking lot, and then they pave over it. So, I mean, yeah, it's absolutely usable material to some extent.
One last question. What do you, just off the top of your head, what do you think it might cost to pave part of that pit to put in 24 parking spaces, asphalt, whatever we'd have to do to?
More than you would think.
Well, I know that.
Especially DRI money.
Well,
Yeah, not reuse, the DRI. Yeah.
Well, so that's the thing too. Any DRI money, you have to go out to bid, you have to do the specifications, and you have to pay the rounding gauge.
Yeah.
I mean, that alone really jacks up the price. But your problem with the park is that you're gonna need a drainage system. You're taking what is currently a big pit that collects all this water. It's the same thing we had with the art park. I mean, that water has to go somewhere. So if you put asphalt down, well, now you need to show DEC and Conservation District that you're not just letting all the fuel and everything from those cars get into your water and then drain down.
Okay.
So you have to put a full underground system in. Before, that's why we were trying to limit as much impervious area as we could. We want the water to infiltrate. We don't want it running across and collecting and causing stormwater issues.
Oh, they have that pervious stuff you can make. But anyway, I just wanted to feel about what.
You can't do that.
If the middle is
Just a
trees.
feel about what, is it 100 grand, 200 grand, 500 grand? What would-
I couldn't even tell you.
Okay.
But what I can do is, I do have some colleagues who have done, permeable parking lots. Which actually, so like for that, essentially what you would end up doing is you would take down, 2-3 feet across the parking lot. You would put down, there's a couple different versions, but the ones that are most common are these like hex shaped,
Plastic.
yeah, it's a geogrid, but instead of a fabric, it's thicker. They fill it with stone, they do another layer, and they plant soil and grass, and now it looks just like an empty field, but you could park on it without it getting damaged or muddy. But it's a big area.
Just a thought. I don't want to go too far in that, but I do want to know, what did we invite Jim for, Mike?
Oh, yeah, he's getting there.
So, yeah, I'm getting there.
It's all marked.
Yeah. So the columns, as
Wendy
you go
gave us
through.
nice pictures of the column.
Yeah. So.
It could be the village.
We already had Grave Rental.
So essentially what our masons and our historical preservation experts have told us is that there really is no good way to go at these columns without risking their complete destruction. So there's a question of, well, we can just remove this from the scope and just keep the money and push it somewhere else. We can take the columns down and rebuild them using masonry similar to the bathhouse. Then you kind of have nice, clean columns that look similar to a nearby structure. It kind of ties it together. There's an issue of worrying about character being lost. I mean, those columns are, it's like a stone built up with mortar, like it has a very handmade old feel to it. To take it down and just replace it with cinder blocks seems kind of, it just seems too, what's the word? Well, there's a word for it, like modern practical, when they do straight lines and efficient corners, and it just lacks character.
What if take it down, preserve the stone, use the stone to build, so at least the stone is incorporated into the new structure?
So that would be our third option, which is a more in-depth engineering effort to say, well, we take it down, how do we rebuild it up? What can we do? No matter how you look at that though, it's gonna cost more money. Yeah.
I can't remember what's that. Is that Wendy's thing? Is that about what's there right now? Are they both about that big?
Yeah.
One's like just a touch shorter than the other one.
Oh, no, they need to stay there like they are, and they need to have a little plaque on them to tell how
There is
historic
already
they
a
are,
plaque
and
on it.
off we go.
There is a plaque.
They haven't touched them yet. So all they've had is someone's gone
Leave
out.
leave them like they
They're
are.
measuring the work.
Historic.
They allocated a budget to it and said, okay, well, this is what we're gonna do. Because when these guys bid these projects, they can't hire any subcontractors or anything until they have a contract. So they go to people they trust. They say, hey, give me a number for this. They shoot it, and then once they get the project, they come in and say, okay, exactly how are we gonna do this? Make sure we can do it under budget. And then now people are kind of looking at this and going, I don't know if you can, I can give it a shot, but we risk damaging something that the village potentially cares very much about.
Because he stood the test of time this long.
Are they in
If there's
danger?
any kind of, if it's in danger of falling, could it be?
They're not structurally incompetent. They are human incompetent.
Vision.
That makes sense.
Aesthetically.
So there's a risk that once we start doing something to them, that they will become unstable and thus be no longer repaired. All we really had called out for, we were like, okay, we're basically just gonna scrub these things, we're gonna mortar some stone back in, and we're gonna finish it.
Yeah.
The contractors are telling us, the expert, the masons, not the contractors, so the experts, the historical guys, they're telling us, if we go in there and start scrubbing this or spraying it and trying to remortar it, you might cause kind of a chain thing where one rock falls, a couple fall, and then before you know it, the column is deteriorated beyond what you can really repair. So it comes down to you guys of how much you really care about what exactly is there now and potentially something new. At one point it was on the docket to completely tear these things down and do a whole new, but people established that.
And there was gonna be some national complaint.
Yeah, it was too much money at the time to justify for that as opposed to something else. But yeah, so that's why I told, the septic thing, I have no problem taking responsibility for that and saying, you guys need to do that. I directed the contractor to do that. It's absolutely optimal for your project. This is something of value that I can't make a decision for you on what you could. I've said this before to you guys a number of times. I can argue till the cows come home for any one of these paths, but ultimately you guys need to decide on what you value as the village.
Yeah, so James brought this up in one of our weekly meetings, and I said, I'm not deciding on this, everybody is.
And I don't want to put you guys under the gun right here for this.
The time gun again.
Yeah, so, we can sort of kick the can down the road with this one because we do have phase 2. Same contractors, they're more than willing to just, hey, we'll remove it from phase 1, and if for some reason phase 2 doesn't go on, we'll credit you for the percentage. And then, if it does go to phase 2, at that point, we would obviously need to make a decision on what we want to do with those columns, so. But I want you guys to think about it.
Yeah.
'Cause nobody
Tomorrow
else is
morning, I want to go over and look at them and think about it and get a visual and a thought.
Yeah, I was thinking if we could bring them down both level, they are on each side of the driveway, correct? And then put some metal arch or something to incorporate. That was one of the.
How they gonna support those?
Thought
We're gonna
back
do
when.
that.
Yeah, the original quote for that was somewhere around 250,000.
Because that was going to be a hell of an arch.
That'll add one more weight to it.
That was one of the original plans, but it was 250, 300,000 miles.
Yeah, we got rock walls built. We just gotta add the little plastic pegs.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to put all the hard decisions on you guys, but.
When you look at it,
There are
it seems like it's such
you
a
have to make
hard
'em.
project, but
IDS signage, so not to sway you guys at all, but if it were up to me, I'd be pretty upset with these guys. They kind of have done this whole, they sold you this family
The whole
package of signs.
signs all over the village?
Yeah, but it hasn't really moved at all since then. I mean, that was 6+ months ago that I was here and they presented and said, hey, these are what the signs are gonna look like. At that point, they really should have been laying out final signs, like, okay, they were positioning them, putting on there. I don't know who is running that portion of it, but since we tied ours into theirs, it's holding up a lot of our parking lot signage and everything.
weren't these signs supposed to be embedded in the ground, like around where the bridge was?
It's not really the way it does. What they do is they usually core it after the fact and then they just drop it in.
Because I seen that they already tore up and rebuilt those corners.
Yep.
You know?
Well, I
so
don't,
like,
outside of our projects, I don't know what.
it's like extra work, damage.
Well, part of it's because it's multiple contractors. It's a lot like when you guys have utility work done. Okay, one person's tearing up the road, and now water wants to get in there, now wants, yeah. So, I mean, it would be more efficient if they worked as a team, kind of did everything all at once kind of thing. But what you have is you have a contractor who hires a subcontractor, and they both kind of want to do things so the contractor's like, I don't care, here's your money, do what's in the contract. So it's a portion they don't have to really worry about. Unfortunately, there's nobody holding IDS's feet over the fire. So
The county's running that show and we're not.
That's tourism.
So, but whatever they're doing is kind of holding us up. We've seen some signs that we approved for the parking lot, but they're kind of grouping everything together, obviously to make the most out of their contract IDS. So, but we have parking lots that need directional signage and stuff, and it doesn't look great. People get confused, that kind of thing. So, but I mean, and the contractor is doing his best. He's hammering on IDS to, hey, give me this stuff. I need to submit it. I need to get this stuff going. But they're just kind of hemming and hawing. So I don't know. We've reached out to, Rebecca. We've reached out to Brittany. I mean, I've heard there's kind of like some mix up going on. No, I don't want to say mix up, but there's some shifting sands over in the county side of stuff. I don't know what that is, but we just need someone to take ownership of that, so we can push it ahead. I mean, IDS owes you final prints. This is what we're gonna manufacture, put out, and do it. And if they give you some BS about, oh, well, it's all in production, how are you producing something we haven't approved yet? I mean, you guys have approved a general style of sign, a family, that kind of thing, but I wanna make sure they didn't spell Owego wrong. I want to make sure that they, I mean, you laugh when it happens. Like, I mean, and what's worse is someone signed off on the misspelling of whatever it was. But, yeah. All right, I'm moving through here. So IDS signage. I don't know who wants to. I mean, at some point there were some people who were going to join that board. I don't know if that board still exists.
Those people are no longer on our board.
Ron is still part of that.
I know.
Although he's not with us.
Who is?
Ron Felton.
Ron was on that committee of the signs and all that, remember? Because he would report back and tell us what they were doing.
So if anyone would like to join me, I will be out here at 9 o'clock walking through the parking lots with the contractor, closing those out, making sure everything is to specs. They obviously still need to do the signs. That'll be on their punch list.
Is this tomorrow?
And delete the
I'd very much like to do that.
Yeah, I'll be starting over at Park Street lot. They are working on, so the two things that I know are already on the punch list before we even do anything else is the arrows that they painted, despite the fact that we told them not to do that. They do want a liability waiver, which I think we have to sign. We kind of talked about that a long time, even as far as the engineering drawings, I said, I had to put the arrows on the drawings. I would clearly mark them that they're not to be painted.
What do they want a liability waiver for?
If there's an accident, because there's
Because
no
no
arrows.
arrows?
Yeah.
Because we've got people that use something that should be one width of traffic. and-
Can we get them to paint at no great expense or no expense, some arrows that are appropriate?
There is no way to paint arrows that are.
How they put them, that are what?
There are no ways to really paint them that are appropriate, not without limiting the use like we talked about. You'd have to put some of the, so we talked about this, the two entrances ways, they're too small to require two-way traffic.
We don't want an arrow
street
there.
lot, right?
The place for an arrow is coming off of Main Street in that first section as you're going up by the bank, before you get to the end of the bank's drive through, and an arrow there because so many people are so used to coming out there. That's a good place for an arrow going in.
There will be signage that says, entranceway.
I'm just saying, that's a good place for an arrow.
So I mean, yeah, we could look at that and see where the arrows are, and they could keep some and don't keep some. But as of right now, two of your ways are entry and exit only, which from what we understand of village traffic, people are going to use them however they want. So our decision was kind of like, as an engineer, I have to put them on the plans. I have to show it correctly. I was leaving the option up to you to essentially tell the contractors, we're okay with this with taking on this liability essentially because.
And they didn't listen to us much.
Well, they can, there's a whole discussion on who told who what, when, and ask questions. I try to stay out of contractors' ways when they're biting at each other's heels. They can fight over it as long as they do what I ask them to do in the end. That's all I care about, so.
So we're talking about the Core Street lot?
Hyde Street lot specifically.
Hyde Street lot's the one with the arrows.
Well, they all have arrows actually.
Yeah,
Paint
the
all
only
the
one,
arrows
the only
everywhere.
lot that really matters, we put it universally just to try to, just to be uniform, to show traffic only on the plans, that kind of thing. The only one that it really negatively affects is that, right?
Crap.
Yeah.
The windows are.
So the only lot that is really negatively affected by those arrows is Hyde Street lot because of the private property that's directly adjacent. There's no way to really make those code compliant, technically speaking. But most codes and stuff say if it's absolutely impossible to make this, you can kind of just do what you've always done, sort of thing. So the reason why you get away with a lot of your ADA stuff not being ADA compliant when you're on a hill like this, I mean, you can only get so much slope on an existing hill that's 12%. So tomorrow, 9 o'clock parking, I'll be at Park Street to start. So, firehouse. So we are getting the tip stuff worked out. Have you guys?
It's on the agenda.
Excellent. So you guys are gonna get that taken care of. So Hale, we've given Hale a scope of work to add that kind of section of ceiling into that. And they're gonna get us a final number for that, which, ideally will fall in line with our estimates that we offered Julie and the state for their changes. As before, I mean, I don't wanna raise any hopes or anything, but Julie kind of indicated that any money that was spent on that firehouse could be all over the place. So I don't know if that counts for, painting something special on your guys' doors.
It's the other firehouse is the problem.
Oh, it's the other firehouse.
Right.
Oh, see, sorry, out of towner. I get lost in my own backyard. So. There's another firehouse.
Next door, the little firehouse.
Oh, by the steamer.
Where the trucks actually.
That's the door one.
Right.
Gotcha. Okay. Yep. Sorry, can't help you then.
And
Yeah, so, but at least the hazard stuff will be cleaned up as part of all of that, that's all, anticipated.
When will
Waterfront,
that get worked on?
what's that?
When will that be done?
Well, we need to get you guys signed up for the tip stuff so that we can get them approved, but we also need Hale to agree to the extra work. So, I mean, we could have gotten Hale going right away, but since we wanted to add something with it, they have the prerogative to review the work and put a real number to it. I mean, they're not gonna rush into it and potentially shoot themselves in the foot. I mean, they don't have a lot of reason to really rush and get it done.
Is this like next spring?
Yeah, At this point, I would say you're probably looking at closer to the next spring, short of having a mild winter. I mean, we were shooting to have it done, but ideally we were considering that the clock tower would be complete and the roof would be complete, not having to do extra work and cut off a whole portion of that. So, waterfront, I started looking at that again today. So put out the fires we have before we start new ones.
Yeah, which that is mainly in what, the DEC.
Yeah, so we have to permit. So we did all the, we need to kind of reshape the trail just a little bit, just to make sure we're outside of the wetlands that we delineated. Shouldn't be any major issues there, really.
This is up the creek.
Yeah, this is
Well,
for the trail, yep. And then we need to confirm with Viola that they're gonna approve our RPZ for our cleanup. The other thing is that we'll need somebody in this group to pair up. We need to kind of re-kickstart our art committee in the new direction. You still have that budget. I mean, seems like now you guys are looking to kick the can down the road a little bit again, waiting to see what the state's decision is. The problem with that, as always, is the farther you kick it down the road, the farther the schedule extends. Ideally, we would have already had some requests for proposals out to the artists. But with the obvious shift in direction, we're not gonna want the same thing that we wanted previously. So we kind of need to start looking at, what are some of our options? How are we gonna write some of those RFPs? And we hopefully can, Tioga Arts Council is still willing to work with us. As I feel like their expertise and direction is invaluable in that aspect.
What is this art for?
But we have an art budget.
That $150,000 that was
And we
set
need,
aside for
yeah,
art.
we need art. So when the art park was established, we basically spent every dime on that except for about 50,000. We bumped that up to 150 by shifting some of the money over the first time, which was
The Draper.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
So when we cut the art park, we cut the baseline, but we decided to keep the 150,000 that was gonna be our art budget. Probably wasn't gonna be enough to really do a whole lot in the art park, outside the infrastructure. But the idea was, well, at least keep that and spend it on some artistic features for Owego, whether or not that's along the riverfront, along the river trail, or in Marvin Park, or wherever else, is really up to you guys. We kind of need to decide on that.
So there has to be at a DRI site.
As of right now, depending on how much flexibility they give us when we move that, they kind of melt those contracts ideally. I mean, I don't want to get you guys too hoped up on that, but I mean, that's really would be a godsend for all of this. Like, it depends on how much flexibility they give us. There's a good chance that they're going to limit it to be based on the awarded projects. Right. I mean, they don't want you spending this to pay Main Street or whatever. You know what I mean?
But once again,
Right, yeah.
once again, oddly enough, the art park is an approved project.
Right.
And the art park didn't necessarily not include, because since we own the steamer property, that art park can include that property. It can include them, it probably could include a mural over there. Maybe not, but probably could.
So, I mean, I don't want to
Just
set us
saying.
off on too much of a tangent.
Yeah.
If, for whatever reason, we end up moving ahead with the art park, that all goes through, and the other part from Marvin Parks, you guys will not have a choice besides to consider the option where you do absolutely minimal, non-existent infrastructure and basically spend all the money on art because you don't really have any other option. We've established that we don't have a budget to do the original plan. Just something to chew on.
Yeah, once again, we don't do either North Avenue or Central Avenue, all that work we were gonna do there for that. We don't do that. We do that half pavement or whatever we do in there and some art in there, and we come in at a few $100,000 or whatever we could do. We can, it's a possibility.
Yeah, I'm more than happy to revisit that when something is, I mean, we can look into our crystal ball all day, but all we're gonna see is smoke.
I have a question. probably don't know the answer to this
I have all the answers.
one. Somebody
Yeah.
is replacing streetlights on Main Street and.
That is not what they are doing.
Sure.
Oh, yes, somebody just
Church
did.
Street?
Main Street, Front Street, Church Street, Park Street, and Court Street on the light poles, the big street lights. Somebody's come in and taken all the lights on top out and put new lights in, new bulbs in there.
So my impression was that, and this is what I've been told repeatedly, that work was done a while ago. All they did this time was come in and replace the disconnects. So when they had already installed them, they had to, they had missed a part because of the disconnects because they hadn't come in yet. So they had to come in and redo it.
Our electrician, who's a 40-year veteran from,
I am very much aware of what he says and what I cannot say what is or isn't happening.
somebody, he says, has gone up on those light poles and replaced all of those light fixtures on the top and bulbs recently.
Yeah, I mean, that is what.
It's not somebody from DRI?
No, it most definitely is. I mean,
It is somebody from DRI.
It's gotta be Dyco.
Was that in one of the DRI projects?
Yeah, that was what was originally laid out in the thing, was to show all those. That was the plan that was presented and everything. That was slightly before my time, so that project was essentially complete before I started, but that is the plans that I sent you guys and laid out that the idea was that the lights needed to be replaced and the control panel needed to be replaced, and then that side would light up.
We're not talking south side, we're talking like by the movie.
Downtown.
Yeah, all of that was shown on the plans as areas that needed to be replaced for lights. And so the issue that I had talked previously was that Watson had said, we did field survey, we collected this information. That was their plan that they kind of presented. That was what was laid out, here before you guys, and then, so that's what the contractor bid on and approved. Yes, Rick is quite frustrated that.
Yeah, I thought it was just the other side of the bridge.
Yeah.
I didn't think they were doing anything downtown.
Yeah.
And I thought that the only thing that was gonna happen downtown was the bottom of the green things that didn't have electricity, and we were gonna fix the electricity on the little green short lights. I didn't at all think that we were gonna go up and do all the major street lights on the poles.
Yeah, because we just changed all those streetlights.
Cause we just put new ones in.
4 years ago, we did.
Well, that's interesting. But anyways, you believe it was what you said, Watson or whatever you just said, that whatever company that.
Yeah, so Watson is the sub-consultant that did the electrical part of all of that. So Watson did that design, when I came on board, me individually, I collected this information, and Watson says, we have this, we did the survey, this is what we think needs to be done in order to repair these lights, this light issue that they're having, in downtown Owego. So I said, okay, collected the plans, and then, presented them to you guys for review and consideration, and nothing was brought to my attention otherwise. So that's what went into the bid set. I mean, that work was done the first month that I was here, then those didn't change for 8 months before it actually went out to bid. It was only after that we found out that basically none of that really needed to be done, and the problem lied elsewhere, which I am currently working out with NICEAG. So.
Right.
Mr. Ford, not that it matters, tells us that all these new lights they put in, 2 of them don't work already.
I would strongly.
I'm sure they're under warranty or something.
Yeah, recommend that you document that and bring that to me so that I can chase after them. So.
Okay.
Yeah, if anything like that isn't coming in right.
So anyways, it is what it is, whatever poor communication there was, and however that happened, we ended up spending a bunch of more of the DRI money in a place that we didn't need to, but that's how it works. Sometimes we don't pay enough attention. Okay.
Yes and no. The problem is the amount of money that costs is significantly less than the money that is actually needed to do what is there. I think Dyco has actually come up with a really good solution for us, and I think they're gonna thread the needle for you guys on this.
This is across the river now?
Yeah.
Well,
The real problem.
Yeah, that's the real problem, yeah. Okay.
So, but I'm working with them to try to figure all that out with NICEAG.
I saw some solar
Apparently
lights.
has no clue on anything like those.
I saw some solar lights that look like street lights. We can just stick those up on the pole.
Like, I mean, I guess the good thing is that, Dyco did save the lights for you guys, so you do have them.
Oh, that was one of Rick's questions.
Yeah,
They
we did.
Because
manage-
those lights are, we probably have warranty on the ones they took down.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, if nothing
So what
else, if those two lights that don't work, I mean, you could just ask Dyco to credit you for that. Take it off your bill off the top and then put the old ones back on. And then you'll have a couple extra lights for, you know, if anything gets damaged or beyond the warranty, or you want to install some new light fixtures.
So what happened to the lights they took down?
That's what he says, Dyco still has them, so we'll get them.
No, they already dropped them off.
We have them.
Okay.
Rick Ford has them. Our agent, Rick Ford, has them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how, I didn't even know Rick existed until, earlier this year.
Yeah.
Someone was like, have you talked to Rick, our electric guy? I'm like, you don't have an electric guy.
We didn't for a while. Now we do.
We have the electric guy. He put all this crap up in the last 40 years for NICEAG.
Yeah, that's what he said. He was like, anything you need to know about this, I know, you just let me know. By the way, I'm going on vacation next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. I'll throw them. No.
All right, that's everything I have. It's a lot.
Let me just reaffirm. Those pillars in Marvin Park are not gonna fall down, right?
They're not gonna fall down.
They're gonna last a while.
They're ugly.
If we don't screw with them.
Yeah, if you don't
Bingo.
screw with them, if someone hits one of them with a plow or something,
Well, then, yeah.
Well, that's,
It'll
yeah.
can't
break
be
the- it'll break the
spec for that.
You'll probably break the plumber.
So, but yeah, they're not structurally deficient, at least to my knowledge. I mean, and I was over there not that long ago and nothing looked like it was really coming down to me. It just doesn't look great.
Don't look pretty.
It's, history is ancient.
Same as the clock tower and the firehouse. Doesn't look pretty, but it's not gonna fall down.
What else we got?
I don't know. What else we got for James? Past his bedtime already.
Yeah, my wife and my sister and everyone else in my family have been blowing up my phone.
Uh-oh.
So you gotta drive home and then you're driving back here tomorrow?
Yeah, tomorrow morning. I was supposed to come here twice today and I was just like, I'm not gonna do that. Alrighty, I'll get out of here then. I appreciate you guys squeezing me in there.
Thanks for your
I
patience.
probably won't be there tomorrow, but you know everything
That's fine. I'll take pictures. I'll write up a punch list and a final report for closeout. If you guys notice anything. So the good thing is, like, that's kind of what the punch list is for. So I'll draft up the punch list of like, hey, this is the stuff you guys need to finish. You know, if you guys notice anything, I'll send it to you guys so you can add to it if there's anything I miss. And then until they finish out everything, you just hold their 5% retainage. That's what it's for. Like, you don't close it out, you don't finish paying them that until they finish everything
Get our signs.
to your guys' liking. Exactly. So.
Yeah, let's take a little break in case it needs to use the bathroom.
Okay.
We'll be back. 5 minutes. Rodney has to go to the bathroom.
James, is that yours on the board?
Yeah. Yeah, that's my other organ.
Yeah, right. Let me have that.
Sometimes I wish its battery life was shorter.
Thanks for coming today.
Yeah, guys.
Somehow I'm not here on time, we don't show up.
We'll keep an eye on it.
Yeah, this cold weather is wreaking havoc on my head.
I'm not today.
You see the post that I put on it with me doing thriller dance? You see that one? Well, my mother knows my hip was hurt, and she's seen that. She said, "Oh, looks like you're doing better now." I said, "Oh, this was last year." So far.
park. Get some kick out of here.
We got Halloween candy if we want to trick or treat.
I mainly talk to myself and the team.
Oh, okay. Groups that were helping out and the process all through. So then we have to, then we have to do all.
Okay, I like where to go. I don't know what it is.
And maybe we'll be lucky with prevailing wage and all the rest of it.
You know, Carmel, I like those.
Yeah, it is. And all the.
I wasn't able to make trick or treat this year.
And then get the money back to the state. It just sucks. It sucks.
I wear my new sweatsuit when I'm riding with Santa.
You all right?
That would have been a pleasure. Give us some credit. And you can still get some credit. Okay, no, here it is. And,
You cook us up something.
and that's a parameter. You can't do certain things.
Somebody
You
had-
actually, you have to come to us.
Smarty candy.
What you're doing. That was the.
Okay,
that's-
This is Smarty pants.
I hope so.
I like that one.
Of course, it's supposed to be revitalized downtown.
Almost like when I had my son made me
The river water.
sweatshirt
Up the creek.
and sweatpants. I painted a bunch of, you know, those things, the stickers. My name is, put a bunch of those stickers, put his name, put them all over the guy. Now I'm not gonna be able to tell which one is the peanut.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right.
For the marathon.
We've done 5 minutes?
Yeah.
I don't know, everybody's gone.
High Laura's list.
That's the problem.
I talk to her a bunch every Monday before this. She's got stuff.
Go get more candy.
What's Randy got? Randy got candy over in the bag?
Candy in the bag.
Candy in the bag.
You got trick or treat for it.
You know what that is? That's Saturday Night Live in a box.
You gotta say trick or treat though. You like when trick or treat. That's just because.
What we got here? What's that, Randy?
You were about.
Oh, you did good.
Trick or treat cocktails. I did, as usual.
Although Ronnie's is the very best house in the village. They got a bowl as big as a 55-gallon barrel drum out front, and the kid can just take whatever they want out of it. I mean, that's a heck of a place. I didn't want to be out there all night. They had something on TV, one of the shows, doesn't matter, Entertainment Tonight or the news, and somebody had a bowl out like that, and a couple of kids and their parents came by and took it all.
I'm not supposed to get any of
And
that.
let me tell you, those, and it's on national YouTube TV. That's gonna be one shamed family.
Yeah.
But that day, you probably watching YouTube.
When I was a kid, kids went trick or treating. I've never seen so many adults out there dressed up.
All right, are we ready?
Ready.
All
We're going.
right, get back on the show. All right, so we'll go to department head reports, a lot of them are left. Did we hear anything from fire chief?
Nope.
Police chief?
Yes.
Oh, yes, he has a couple things, right?
Yeah, you want to do them now?
Yep.
Okay. Police chief has proposed another member, another part-timer for his department, and of course, we can barely fill shifts, and so anytime he has a good part-timer that's willing to do anything for us, we like it. He's been interviewed by the committee, and his name is Scott Pauley. I never tell a policeman's address. He lives in the Owego area. He's a retired state trooper, has tremendous amount of experience in things that are valuable, evidence search, warrants, other things. And so the chief would like to hire him as a part-time officer. The $25 an hour, and the interview, well, we don't do much, a tremendous amount of things in the interview, but we find out if there's, of course, he already has to go through all the investigative stuff, but we just ask the simple questions. Do you have any disciplinary things? Are you under indictment, that, those kinds of things, and then a couple of the other things. We don't do a ton, but anyways, highly recommended. And I make a motion that we hire Scott Pauley as a part-time police officer at $25 an hour, no benefits. Starting date as soon as the chief does the things that are required for it to start.
This would be per diem schedule, as needed.
Yes, as needed, yeah.
Not under,
No schedule, just
no
as
schedule,
needed.
just per diem.
I second that.
Okay, any discussion on that? Any questions?
So this does not require any funding?
No, I mean, it just comes out of the budget for the part-time. It would just be another body on the roster.
He just fills a shift that when he's available, when the chief needs him, and when it can be done. So no, there is no budgetary money.
Thank you.
So we'll vote. Rusty?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Dave? Yes. Fran?
Yes.
Charles?
Yes.
And yes. Do you have the info on the other guy he needs?
I don't,
I do.
it's Ron, let's see,
Ronald Polak.
how do you
Polak?
How do you spell it?
Let's say Polak. P-L-O-C-E-K.
P-O-L or P-L-O?
P-L-O.
P-L-O, say it again,
E-C-K.
P-L-O-E-C-K?
No, P-L-O-C-E-K.
C-E-K, thank you. We're just dyslexic over here.
So we hired Ron in November of 2021. But he hasn't worked, and there was some issue with his certification or civil service.
He didn't qualify.
They don't have the motion or something, so we need to redo it.
Yep, he didn't qualify under civil service, something wasn't right.
Something.
And we're gonna.
Same deal.
I'm gonna make a motion that we approve Ron Plosek as a part-time village police officer at $25 an hour, no benefits, per diem if you want that in there, and starting at the police chief's discretion.
Yes, so he started a long time ago, hadn't worked, now wants to work. Has free time or whatever.
Yep.
But he can't. Okay. Any questions on it? We shall. Rusty?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Dave? Yes. Fran?
Yes.
Charles?
Yes.
And yes. Okay. That's all I got from Joe. Anything else that I don't know about?
No, I don't have anything.
What's this about Officer Winchell?
We can do that.
That's something that we're gonna need to talk about in an executive session.
Well, we can do that one, actually.
Or at least that was my opinion.
Scott Pauley, can you spell his last name?
I believe it's just P-A-U-L-Y, but Mike, do you have it written down there?
I don't.
I believe it's P-A-U-L-Y, but I will find out for sure if it's L-E-Y, but I don't think there's an E in there.
So if we wanted to do, so this, Officer Winchell was to amend merit raise from October 16th. So somehow we got 2650 and it was supposed to be 27. And he is not bound by the retired officers agreement, so we can do that if you guys want to.
So we were trying to give him a raise, and this is still kind of confusing, but we were gonna give him $1 an hour raise. I don't know, but this, it says here to make it 27. Is that from Joe?
Yes.
Well, then let's do that. I move that we amend the motion from October 16th board meeting for part-time police officer Judge Whistle to read not from 2650, because I don't know about that exactly, that his rate will be $27 an hour.
Right. 26.
We're taking out that 2650 because we're not sure that was right, but we're making it 27.
Yeah, 27 is the correct rate. like I said, he's not part of that emblem.
Yeah.
Alright, so that is okay to do. So, Rusty,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
Fran,
Yes.
Charles,
Yes.
and yes.
Did you receive any information on this new member from the fire department?
I didn't see it.
I didn't get an email or anything.
Yeah, usually they'll give us that little,
And nothing was said during fire board.
seems like they added somebody for company force. It seems like they did it there, that they voted to do it, but I don't have any paperwork.
I can't recall.
We don't have the paperwork to sign either?
I don't know.
Huh.
I didn't get an email on it or anything.
Where
We need to
was
table
that?
that until next time.
That's not mine.
Just hold them over till next time.
Without the chief being here, without Charles, the commissioner, and I usually attend, somebody having some documentation or certainty,
Something, yeah.
we need to wait, yes?
Yeah.
I agree.
Charles said.
We'll get them next time. And they will have 8 firefighters.
8.
Because they,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking this
the Georgia.
Yeah. Alright, so we'll do the easy ones. Appoint Georgine Eckley to Tioga County Planning Board. So we have to put somebody on the Tioga County Planning Board from the village, and this person has been on there. So this is just reappointing that same person to the Tioga
She's
County.
been on there.
She's been on there for a while. Anyone wants to do that one? Go for it.
Move we appoint Georgiana Eckley to the Tioga County Planning Board for a 3-year term effective January 1, 2024.
Second that. Alright, any questions on that? Rusty?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
Charles?
Yes.
And yes.
She's already on there, so we're just.
Right, we're
Everything
reading
recently,
it for another 3 years. Set public hearing. This is mainly on here just for, well, not a reminder, but to, on the container law.
I'm not ready to set it yet. Because I didn't reread the storage container law since the last time.
Okay. That was,
Is that the one with the signage on it?
yes,
Yeah.
one sign per side.
Couple of- I believe that some of us were semi-tasked to talk to Nate about detailing some stuff, and apparently that I didn't get my piece of that done for the 2 or 3 things I had, so I'm fault for not having that ready, and as are others.
So let's table that and then,
Table that till next meeting?
that's your reminder
To do it this time.
to. And election legal notices. This is all Rodney.
You can make a motion.
I'll move we approve the legal notice for the next Village of Owego election, which is March 19th, 2024.
Second?
Okay. Should we say what the legal notice is? Yeah.
Well, who's up for myself, Mayor, Charles, Fran, and Ed.
Yep.
And
Steve?
possibly there might be this bond or whatever, that other thing. EMS is gonna put on
right.
it, that could show up, not here yet.
Right.
But you know what I'm talking about, the.
Yeah, we're not approving that yet.
All right, so we got a second motion, and a second to run that in the paper.
Okay.
Rusty?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Dave? Yes. Fran?
Yes.
Charles?
Yes.
And yes.
You have to take pictures again?
We'll go on. I'll bring it.
I have 15.
Then we got another one to
Elections
go to election inspectors.
I'll move, motion to approve the election inspectors, Carolyn Wright, Joan Davis, Christina Stevens, Cinda Goodrich, Linda Williams, Jeffrey Collin, and Retha Woodburn as election inspectors for the March 19th, 2024 election.
Second that.
The date.
Discussion on that. We thank them for doing it,
What are they inspecting?
the election.
During the election, they're here all day, and then they count the ballots,
Right.
certify the election.
Make sure that people vote.
Elections
That's right.
are.
Rusty?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
Charles?
Yes.
And yes. Next one is tips resolution. So part of the fire station
Is your
roof,
copy or mine?
James needs us to enter into the TIPS program, which is a municipal purchasing program, basically for roof work. So we can get the roof a little bit cheaper and easier than bidding everything, which we already bid, but this will save us a little bit of money.
So this is in addition to?
No, it's just like a,
It's like a co-op device.
so Nate's looked at this resolution and he has no issues with it. As far as us joining the program, so that we can, it's like joining Sam's Club kind of.
Yeah, how long does it last?
I don't know.
So we have no obligation, no monetary obligation, once we're in it, we can't get something from someplace else. It's just
Purchasing power, or bidding power, basically.
And you say Nate's
Nate's team
Good on
is
that.
fine with it. And obviously the architect recommends going that route versus bidding and then doing change orders.
anything else?
So which bid went through?
What's that?
Which bid went through?
I don't, the roof to the fire station.
It went through.
That's what I think it is.
That was for
Did you have the committee? Sounds like-
No, $100,000.
170,000.
I think it's 200,000.
There's so many out there.
I know. Who made a motion anyway?
Purchasing.
Nobody,
I'll make the motion.
Charles. Who said?
I'll second.
okay. So any other questions, comments on the TIPS program? So again, the resolution will just enroll us so that we can purchase things through it.
So TIPS is International Purchasing System?
Yeah.
What does the T stand for?
Interlocal purchasing system. Good
Not sure
question.
what it is.
Maybe,
Probably just so it sounds like something.
maybe,
The,
Probably.
it's the, it's capitalized.
yeah, it is the
We just needed it to make it TIPS.
first word, yeah.
That makes up, it couldn't be HIPS.
TIPS didn't sound very good.
So Charles, along those lines,
It's gonna spell something.
I was gonna make a joke when we were when we were doing our meeting here, Fran was at about the climate smart and all that stuff. And Julie did a great job and every other thing was initialized stuff. And it just, oh, the CRS is a DFP and the MDD and the TIP. What the heck are you talking about?
This could have been lips.
Your lips.
Lips. We'll vote on this. Rusty?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Dave? Yes. Fran?
Yes.
Charles?
Yes.
And yes. James will be happy.
You wanna mention the fire?
Is that, Mike, when we, what do we have to do to officially be in this? I mean, can we be in this real quick? Can we?
Yeah, we just did it.
So by doing it, we're in.
Right.
Now, we don't have to send somebody and
Right.
takes a week or two, we're ready to go.
You just have to pay the tips. Just have to pay them tips, yeah. Tip them.
Did you intend to skip over the town of Farragut?
No, not really.
Oh, okay.
So that's just on there as a reminder that we don't have a signed contract between the town of Owego and us yet. So we have done it, approved it, and it's with them. Nate tried to email it to them like 6 different times, didn't work. So he actually mailed it to them. So we need to figure out when their meeting is and spoke to them, basically.
Okay, so, all right. Gotcha, okay.
Transfers, let's do that one quick.
Is that-
Second page.
Second.
So transfer $3,150 from federal aid to equipment for, so this was, the chief gets pretty much every year a grant for, to buy new bulletproof vests. So that's what this is, money is.
Move that motion. Transfer motion.
We have a second? Second. Any questions about that? Move the money. Rusty?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Dave? Yes. Fran?
Yes.
Charles?
Yes.
And yes.
Did we go over ARPA money and COVID?
Nope, we didn't do that yet.
I skipped it.
We'll get there.
We're just knocking off the rest of the junk. Payment of bills.
I had a couple questions.
See if we can answer them.
We bought like $444 of dog poop bags. Are they compostable and are they for the Parks Department?
They are for the parks. I don't know about compost.
It does say it says six boxes of pet waste roll bags, $444.
They're plastic, so I don't think there's,
They have
you mean
plastic.
biodegradable?
Yeah.
I've seen the boxes. They're plastic, I don't know. They're spikeable plastic bags.
Hopefully.
That's a lot of dough.
Yeah, that's a lot of money to spend on them and maybe, maybe somebody might have donated them or something like that for the parks. Or, yeah, so
Who buy them every year?
curious about that. And then,
Is it a line item that we have in our budget? Okay.
and then there's $3,000 to pay for a grant services. It's under 10 Kate grant services. And it says, manage 2021 assistance to firefighters.
Oh, that's the AFG grant.
Yeah, did we hire the grant writer?
The
Or
fire
did
department
like the fire department, Inc. hire a grant writer?
What was it for, Mike?
I think we agreed to pay for that.
What was it
If I'm
for?
remembering right. It was for the AFG grant, which was the air bottles, maybe?
Okay.
I think we agreed to pay that for them. If I remember right. A long time ago.
It was a while.
That was a long time ago.
So we allowed the department to go out for that grant to get those.
Right. And I want to say we paid the.
Was it this whole scoop of stuff or just the bottles or whatever it was?
It was just the bottles.
No, it was still,
Scuba bottle.
it was still a substantial grant.
Right. No, it was a couple $100,000.
When we were having that.
Then it was everything.
We were having the conversation about it and they said they hired somebody and they were going out for a grant. And I thought that meant they had hired somebody, and that we were just buying them a certain amount of containers until the grant was awarded because they had it pretty good that it was going to be awarded. And so we just bought them a little bit at a time, but I didn't know, they didn't present it that we were paying for their a grant writer.
That was a long time ago.
Now, potentially, within the discretion of the department's heads that can spend under $5,000 for certain things, maybe that was done under those auspices, I don't know.
I'm thinking maybe it was. Because the fire department's coming under budget most years.
So we're not 100% sure of exactly how that works, Laura.
Yeah, so it's
We
just
can get
the
details on
bill's
that,
shown up now.
It is an odd time for the bill since that was a couple years ago.
It is coming out of, Randy says coming out of the fire department line item.
We have it in the line item? Oh, there you go.
And then there was a road obstacle. Does anybody know what that was? There's a payment for a road obstacle on Montrose Turnpike.
Was it the sign?
What was
The speed sign?
Oh, it was $178.
192
Yeah,
bucks.
192, yeah.
Yeah, somebody removed the cones and somebody got ripped. their
Ran over the
tires out
hole.
Because we had cones up and somebody ripped them, so we paid the guy's tire.
Okay.
It's cheaper than fighting with the insurance company.
Okay.
But they had it coned up, so we took the cones and the guy went in the hole and I thought it was easier to pay than put on our insurance. So we just
Did we fix the hole?
fixed the hole right after that. But
I need to do
it's too bad they had it, kind of blocked up. People stole the cones or whatever. That's what that was.
Figures.
Yeah, those are my questions from it.
You got a motion? Do you have a motion?
No.
Move to pay the bills.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Let's pay them.
Mr. Charles?
Charles.
Charles, second. I heard him.
Any other questions, discussion on the bills? We like to pay. Rusty?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Dave? Yep. Fran?
Yes.
Charles?
Yes.
And yes. All right, should we go back?
Want to do the minutes?
Yeah, the minutes easy.
You got any minutes, Joe?
No, I motion to approve the minutes as submitted.
Check them off the list. Give me a second.
I'll second.
Any questions? Anybody else see any? Okay. Rusty?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Dave? Yes. Fran?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Yes. All right, we'll go back. ARPA money and COVID pay. Did some research since the last time. So if we give, we gave the PBA through our negotiations, $1,600 a piece for full-time PBA members that worked from March 2020 to March of 2021 and are still with us as a COVID bonus through their union negotiations. So we've had a bunch of our other full-time employees question, at least me and probably a bunch of the rest of you, about if we're gonna give them the same deal. So we did some calculating, looking through our list, and if we do that, there's 12 people that would qualify. It would cost us $19,200. Out of our remaining ARPA money, which you all got the list, is $136,573.05. Question is, do we want to do that?
Which also.
Ask you, are you including Sonia?
So it would.
Yes.
Although we need to check on her because we did apply for other money for her from New York State. And a question during that application was if she got any money from the village.
Which we said no.
Right. So whichever would work out better would be
She's
the.
one of that number,
Yeah.
okay.
She would give more from the state.
We don't know
Right.
the guidelines and the rules on that. This does beg, Mike, this does beg the question, because on one of our sheets here, so yes, that's nice, and now what are we gonna do about part-timers, such as part-time
right,
police officers?
That's a whole different.
Well, I mean, but this is, okay, one of the reasons we gave it to the police is that we were kind of stuck with something we'd said, so that we had to negotiate something with the police department, because we said we would. We don't have that same obligation in that same manner. Doesn't mean that people don't deserve it or we shouldn't give it to them, but we don't have that obligation with the CSA. And we also don't have that obligation with the part-timers in the police department or part-timers in any of the other departments. But once
the cat's out of the bag.
yeah, once you start giving it,
Because I got a question from DPW about it.
when you're gonna stop giving it? So it just, and back to some of the things we were talking about, we want to take care of people, we care about it, but when we start to get to $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, I mean, we have money from ARPA, but that's money that has places to go. So it's just complicated. It's a complicated bunch of stuff.
It's up to you guys. I just know our other full-time people like DPW and sewer plant are questioning why they didn't get anything. And it's becoming a divisional thing, right? The one union pushed for it, got it. The other one can't.
We need to be
So they kinda
consistent
got
across the
the
board to avoid that.
There's another glitch. Some people got time off from one of these departments as a COVID thing and others did not. So they got paid money, we'll call that COVID money, because they got time off. So there's another little piece of this whole puzzle that we are not, maybe we
If they
need
got
to.
that, then they're
maybe-
not eligible for this.
There's just more pieces to this than the simple.
That way we're covered when they say, well, we didn't, well, you got that.
Maybe we need to sit in an executive session and look over details. But I don't want to be talking about this, each person, and
You're not gonna solve that tonight, so let's get more information on it?
Yeah.
We'll come back.
Mike, I'm just bringing this stuff up. What do you think?
I think we just give it to them, to be honest. Because we need to keep our people we got.
Yeah.
And they're quitting every day. That's just my 2 cents. I mean, we got the money. I just say.
Are they considered, what's that word they use?
12 full-time people. that-
Essential?
Right. Or 12 full-time people that were here 3 years ago and are still here today. I don't see an issue with it. We gave it to 5 police officers. Met the same criteria. And that's the problem, is we gave it to 5 police officers that met the same criteria. And we haven't given it to these 12 people that also meet the same criteria.
Of course, once again, just that last little piece, criteria isn't the same for the people that got a week's paid vacation.
No, but that was the department head that did that, who's no longer here.
Yes, somebody did that decision, but it's still not, when we get our fussers about things being equal, now all of a sudden that isn't equal. I'm just bringing it up. I don't know what to do exactly.
Well, you want to know my personal opinion, that's my personal opinion.
We need to keep the people we got.
Yeah, they stuck with us through COVID.
Well, there was an article, the county's down 50 people, they're looking for 50 spots in the county.
They're hiring like crazy.
But we're saying,
Every position out there, I clicked on their little thing, they got all kinds of positions out there.
So the thought process is that if we don't take care of our people better, they may move along. Well, I mean, it's all part of reasonable discussion.
What do you guys want to do?
We'll make that decision tonight.
That's up to you guys.
Were there police officers that had paid time off that also received the money?
Not, like, they didn't get extra paid time off, although we treated everybody pretty good through COVID. Like, if you got COVID, we didn't like hold it against you or count against your sick time or whatever. We just let you stay home and paid you.
We did try to take care of our employees
Took care of
during
people
COVID.
Pretty good. Across the board. And for our full-time employees, we cover, but if they're enrolled in our health insurance, all they have to pay is the premium. Like, we cover all the other bills, so it's a pretty good benefit package. I wish I could get our benefit package. Unions are a wonderful thing for that. For the employees anyway. It's up to you guys. The part-timers are more of a, I don't want to say problem, but there's definitely more of a discussion there. The full-timers, we already have a reason or a methodology of how to give it out to them. So that's really just a yes or no. Obviously, we can change that criteria, but I think then it's would open a worse subject. Gave it different to the 12 people that we did the other 5.
Would it be the same amount or would it be different because they're part-timers?
Well, that would be what we'd have to figure out.
That's another piece we'd have to.
Because I know when I was working with Department of Public Works, I was considered part-time, which is seasonal, but I worked every season.
So we've got, in that category, we've one person that would fit that bill. Who worked then is still here now.
So the first question is, do we want to take an action tonight? If we don't take an action tonight, are we going to try and think this through and talk about the details or not? Because if we don't take an action and we don't do any of that, then what are we doing? We would be wanting to, if we're not taking an action this evening, aside from that we didn't want to do it, we would be sniffing out the details a little better or not.
I agree with Rusty. Sniff out some more details and categorize who gets what they will get some.
I guess, Mike, part of that is, there is one piece is simple, other than we're just gonna give these other 12 and that's all we're gonna worry about. Or the other piece is, which probably is what we should have done with the police. Let's figure out what we're gonna do instead of piecemealing it along and on all the rest of it. Let's get it one time, the rest of it.
Yeah, so there's two, right? I mean, the one list is easy. The part-timers are harder.
And we need to talk about that.
So if we want to do it all at once, we probably shouldn't do it tonight.
Let's put it on the agenda for next time.
Fine with me.
Should we all show up like a half an hour early or an hour early to discuss that?
That would be a good idea to have an executive session, because we're gonna be talking about individuals and that shouldn't be discussed. What we finally do is public, but we shouldn't be talking about people and who, what, where.
Yeah, no, we can do that.
Plan on coming in early.
Sounds like a good plan to me. I'm here anyway. All right. The whole list is that trustee report. Rusty.
I'll go last.
I know, right? We'll come back to you. Laura.
I'm busy. Wednesday, we'd like to have a meeting with, so Wednesday, we'd like to have a meeting with our FEMA representative, Jason Fenn. He asked for a meeting to help to get a status on closing out the CAV violation, the remaining CAV violation with Weitzman. So he wants to touch base.
You mean a meeting with the committee, not with the village board?
No, so he'd just like a committee or a meeting.
Meeting with who?
Okay. Nick, all right, guys. So he would like Nick Knapp, Fred Ulrich, Julie Nucci, myself. It would be good if the mayor and Nate could potentially.
I probably can't Wednesday. I'm tied up at work.
Okay.
Not with.
And you better check Fred because he's still on vacation as far as I know. I don't know about on Wednesday.
Okay. So, yeah, so that we could try to get a meeting together, hopefully. They're asking for Wednesday, so we can see. So the status of that is Weitzman said he was going to send a letter, but then he didn't the next day. So
we have no letter, so we are moving forward with the enforcement action.
Okay. And then, yeah, so his project needs to comply. So, all right, so we're going forth with the legal action.
I mean, we don't have a choice. I mean,
okay.
Say you're gonna do something all day, but you didn't do it, so.
Yeah, okay, so I've been to some meetings. There's one coming up, a climate pollution reduction grant program for the Southern Tier and Central New York. That's a webinar. That's on Thursday, 10 a.m. an hour and a half. So I'll be learning about what we can get from that. November 2nd, we had a meeting with the DC to go over the climate smart community budget. I learned we're the first ones to do it, and so that's why it's a little bit harder for us because nobody's done it before. So we don't have an example to follow. So it's taken some effort for us. I attended a webinar, the Community Disaster Resilience Zones. We have been declared one. We're one of 480 some across the United States, and we're highly disadvantaged. And so what we can use this designation for is we get primary focus and assistance from the states. And so when we're ready with our hazard mitigation grant projects and going for grants, we'll be able to use our CDRS, which is the Community Disaster Resilience Zone status, to get like 90% federal funding for our projects. So that's because we're disadvantaged. They are recognizing that and providing us with help. So this is like technical help and just the recognition that we don't have the ability and that we need help through engineering and stuff that they will help provide that to us. So that's a great advantage for being disadvantaged. We had our first of the hazard mitigation planning committees, and so that was last Wednesday. That was a good number of people showed up. And then the next meeting is this Thursday here at 2:30. It goes 2:30 to 3:30, and we're hoping for as many people to show up from our board and of the community to provide input. And so what it is we are identifying what our issues are, what we need for ahead of emergencies. And once we can compile and address, like we can list all our needs and get it out into the plan, we'll be able to get future funding. But in this, we need public and participation of our employees also. So just to identify all of our needs. So we need people to say what they're struggling with. And so like, we need help, DPW needs help for certain things, and the fire company, the police. So it's identifying what emergency response things we still need. Also all of our essential services are located in the floodplain. So something we could use is the mobile command unit. So when something happens, that we have incident command that's able to be, run out and powered from wherever it needs to be. And we can set up to get assistance for getting those things for us, right? So we have to show the need, say we want it, and do that through this process with paperwork and a certain number of meetings. So we have 4 meetings to go. And at this next meeting, we want people to identify what are the most critical structures that we're looking at protecting and what, how do we want to go about assessing our plans. So we're assessing the problem in the National Floodplains Functions Plan portion at this next meeting. And then at the 16th, we're gonna do scenario planning and set goals. We'll meet again on the 30th to review the activities. And on December 7th, we're gonna have the draft plan. And the county is also gonna release their draft plan at the same time. So we have like a really huge effort and product that we're spitting out fast. And so anyways, we're identifying everything that we could need so that way we can get this funding, for it. The 90% federal funding to pay for these things that we need. So it's important that we identify it and get it all and just do this work so that we can get our needs met. I also attended the New York Southern Tier Water Trail. That was in Binghamton at the Doubletree. That is, it's like a big public effort. It will probably be a new name. They got $250,000 for mapping, branding, and marketing. And it includes all the Susquehanna River and its tributaries. So like we would have, mapping and all kinds of things for our kayaking and boat launches, fishing, everything that you do on the river for recreation and more that we get. I'm still working on the Jake Breaks law. So far, I used the City of Hudson's as their model, but we wanted to put a fine into ours, and then so I didn't know like what do you want for that? What would the fine? What are we looking at for a fine that we would want to give?
$100.
Jake break prohibited.
Using a Jake break.
Prohibited area.
Of course, what is the answer? We're, because of the nature of enforcing it, et cetera, we're unlikely to ever be able to get a fine, but that doesn't mean we can't put a fine number in there. And it doesn't mean we can't put Jake Breaks illegal $250 fine.
Right. On a sign, yeah.
On a sign, because you want it to sound official. I mean, it is official, but you want it to sound official and sound like you don't want to do this.
Like a deterrent.
Whatever number I'm putting.
And would it be like a first offense or, like, just what do we want? Just one set fine, $250, something like that?
Yeah. The only reason 250 is that it sounds substantial, and many of our codes are $250 fine or 15 days in jail. That's the about the highest fine that you'll see on stuff.
Most of the village codes.
Yeah, we're not looking to throw anybody in jail.
No.
$250 is a deterrent.
We just want them to see the sign and know they don't really want to get into that system and that game.
Right.
Is 250 the number? Because it's so many of the other things.
275.
Yes, I make a motion.
She seconds that emotion. No, I'm just asking
Sounds good to me.
what the number is. Because we mean business.
So just per offense.
Make sure it gets on the Jake break prohibited area.
The Jake Break area,
Jake break area.
it's the whole village.
Right.
And we'll just decide where we put the signs.
You have it painted on a mural on the.
Bakersfield charges $1,000.
We the people.
Bakersfield is $1,000, Jake break fine.
Maybe we're cheap then.
Bakersfield,
Jake breaks have a purpose, you know, I mean.
Well, in emergency
we know.
case,
Yeah,
You understand?
So there, yeah, in it, we, there's language for emergency situations and all the fallbacks to
Yeah,
protect.
We'll never get that fine.
Yeah. The language is in there, so
Let's
we'll
just
see.
deter those that just use it haphazardly. Instead of using a regular brake line.
It's gonna be as constructive as a no jaywalking sign.
Yeah, pretty
there's
much.
skateboards on the sidewalk.
There you go.
Yeah. So I did read over the law and I noticed some things that will, could use updating, just correcting. So like,
Law and what?
well, our traffic law code in
That's
general.
50 pages long.
I know, I read it. And so anyways, we could do the Jake break law and then we could just find, just refresh quick edits
That'd be great.
while we're doing right after.
We've been talking about that for years.
About various traffic things, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah,
Well,
so,
when you and I meet and Dave on the traffic safety committee, I've already got a notebook full of stuff. We'll continue along on that.
yeah, there's schools that don't exist anymore. And so just removing, we have a 15-mile-per-hour speed limit on Front Street that we just don't have signs up
St.
for.
Pat's,
But yeah, so we'll be removing the St. Pat's, don't want to have that hidden law there. So we can clean this up and stuff. Yeah. All right, that's it for me.
Can I throw something in there now?
Yeah, we can go back to you.
Yeah, but no, this is about your stuff. So had the meeting last week. We did have 3 village board members there, Fran and Laura and I. Laura had, when we were talking earlier today, she would love to have as many village board people come to as many of these as they can, because this is going to be moving zoom, 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 and then they're going to be bringing this to the village to pass it or whatever we want to pass, and it's going to be fast. And the more that people know about it before this stuff comes, because it's going to be complicated, because it always is. It's a whole hazard mitigation plan. The better set we're going to be to know what we're doing and pass it. Julie Nucci did a fabulous job in this first meeting. Sometimes Julie's in here and she's so far above us, we have no idea what she's talking about. She did great. It was excellent. And this next meeting is a good one. And it's going to detail we're going to talk about things that are in jeopardy: structures, historic structures, vulnerable structures, infrastructure, future development, and future flooding. And these are all the nitty gritty parts. So this one is going to be a pretty good one.
When is it?
This is Thursday at 2:30. So that's all I just wanted to add on top of her stuff. But if you're sometimes put off a little bit about, because it gets so complicated, it gets so weird, it was not what we might have feared that was. It was very well done and organized. Okay, that's it.
You guys good? Dave?
The bus stop is not the only thing I have. I did check into Coach USA short line bus terminal, and me and Rusty kind of discussed a little bit today, because the lines are being painted down on North Avenue. They need to be painted before winter, because it's upon us. And I contacted their corporate office in New Jersey and spoke to a woman down there, and she said, because just like the website says, temporarily the bus service to this area, not just Owego, Tioga County, but also Hancock and all these small towns in this whole area, bus service has been suspended temporarily. What does temporarily mean? Nobody seems to know. And it did say temporarily. It's temporarily, yeah. Okay. I asked them if I could buy a bus ticket in Owego, and they said, no, you have to go on the website. That's what they encouraged you to go to the website. I still have the bus tickets.
Can you,
They're yellow by now.
can you get off the bus?
That's a question. If there's a bus coming through and it could be a drop-off point.
Okay.
I believe that that's on the schedule, but we go at those
If
places
you
right
do
now on
look-
drops rather than pickups.
If you do look at their schedule, all of the local and small town areas are still on the schedule for local drop-off points.
Okay.
If there's somebody that buys a ticket to come into that area.
Right.
So the bus stop remains.
Yeah. As far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and if it, me and Rusty talked to it about it today, and if in the future that ceases to exist for some reason or becomes permanent because of short line or something down the road, we'll revisit that at that time, you know, he's in full agreement with that.
So the bus stop's still there.
Bus stop's still there.
Thanks for learning that.
Yeah,
Thanks, Dave.
and that's all I have for today.
Frank?
One thing I was told, well, I went to the Friends of Owego Evergreen meeting, and currently there is no street number for the chapel there next to the cemetery.
Of the
And
mortuary?
yeah, mortuary chapel.
Okay.
You know, and as far as 911 is concerned, they don't have an address. And Kelly Jelly, who she works part-time in town, she told me that it's up to the town zoning to give us a number for that.
Okay. Or assessor or something.
We have to.
Where do all those people get their voter registration stuff? They live in the cemetery.
That's a good one.
As per the group that talked to us, all those voters that we had in the mortuary. Yeah. Well done. Well done, Cindy.
So, I don't know how we go about it, if it has to go through DPW to, you know, our zoning,
I'm checking it because we got an address for this building that didn't exist, so we know the process somewhere. Right, post office gave us this.
I would think the town wouldn't be in charge of that.
I think it's the post office.
Yeah.
But we'll figure that out,
Okay.
so the dead people can get the, well.
Yeah.
They're dying to find it.
That's all I really need to talk about tonight. There's some other things they'll wait till next week. I had questions last week on our bank statement. And I contacted the bank, and they gave me the figures on that, and I really think it needs to be reprinted with the correct figures. I'm sure, here, give those to, that has all the figures there as far as beginning and ending balances, et cetera.
All right, cool.
That
So,
is-
I mean, we still have not approved that bank balance for September.
That is highly unusual, in case anybody does anything these days, that they would give you information on a bank account that you're not on. Because boy, I've been told that stuff 100 million times. You can't have any
Well, I
information.
sent-
On my
I
wife's, I
sent-
can't.
I sent a message to Ed Morgan, and he had,
There you
Greg,
go.
I forget his last name now.
Perfect,
He's got
The
connections in there.
information, yeah. So-
perfect. Well played.
So anyway, that still needs to be corrected for September. I'm all done.
Okay.
Well, I have nothing to report from Fire Chief Jim, other than the 2% fiasco we already went over. Fred is on vacation. We have issues with DPW. I will be representing the board in this week's holiday parade with Santa.
That's right. Is that being absurd?
Are you driving one of those?
No, I'm actually riding in the police car, not in the back seat though. I told him I'm not.
You're not gonna be Santa.
I don't want Santa to think I'm on the naughty list. That's about all I got to say about that.
Communications, anything. Mayor's report. So there will be a meeting here Thursday at 2:00 with Hunt Engineering to go over the plans for 90 Temple Street. For the grant we have to redo the brickwork and the
Yeah, 2:30 is that,
So,
I'm gonna be.
the police station will probably be in the conference room. So anyway, if anybody's interested in coming half an hour early to learn what we're gonna do at the police station, please come. Other than that, I'm busy, mostly DRI stuff, trying to keep everything straight. About it. I did the trunk retreat with the fire department. My trunk didn't win. Santa Claus beat me.
Hands down every year.
Brad and the kids told me he's coming back to see him in 2 months. He's gonna know who they voted for.
He's got a list. He's checking it twice.
Back to me, Mike, are you all done?
You're done, yeah, whatever.
No, are you done?
Yeah, are you
So
taking
now I
anything
get,
else?
I always think of something at the end. And it's time for me to give the money lecture again. So we're gonna have a meeting with Hunt about 90 Temple Street, that we have a $600,000 grant, 450 from the state, 150 that we have to come up with of money we don't have, like always, which is one of the reasons why I'm fussing all the time about that ARPA money and about as much as we want to give it to our people, that 20, that 30, that 40, whatever we give. We got to come up with $1.50 there. We got to come up with a 100 grand for the cops grant. We don't have all this money that we're trying to give away. Because we have other places that it has, that not only it needs to go, it has to go. So just that same old lecture that I give every meeting. Done.
All right, so that brings us back to public comment.
Cindy.
Stuck with us till midnight here.
Oh, they fixed the drain in front of the, on the corner there. They did a good job.
I saw that.
That car's still there.
So
Working on that, because I talked to him today about it.
So we got the car there that's been there too long, et cetera, et cetera.
There's a car parked
And-
behind
and-
that the other day.
And
Well, there always is, because there's really no parking. It's one way, you know?
so technically, the law says that you can't park within a certain number of feet of that intersection or that crosswalk, going across there, going up Page Street. But it also says that we should have a sign there. So we need to put a sign that there's that many feet away that you can't park, so somebody else isn't parking right down at the very end again.
Oh, I don't care if they park there.
Well, they just shouldn't. That's
Well,
not, that's a
they
dangerous.
move, but it's just,
No, that's
you
that.
gotta be aware of that turn when you make that turn. and
Yeah, well, they shouldn't be parked all, it's against law and it's unsafe to be parked all the way up to.
We are supposed to have a sign there, says no parking here in the corner.
Yeah, we need to put up a sign. We'll look at, we'll get that done. Okay, that's all I
And
need.
the car's being worked on, because I talked to them today about that. And another one, but that one too.
That's steel plate still there?
What's that?
That steel plate still there too?
No, that steel plate's fixed.
No, they fixed that.
That's
That's
okay.
okay. Yeah, she said that they fixed the drain and looked at us.
That's great.
How many of us does it take to push that car up? And somebody has to get inside and turn the wheel to get it into her driveway.
No, I was thinking of the river.
You were thinking,
Right, we could push it the other way.
The other way.
push it out in Front Street. Okay,
Out
sorry.
over the hill. No.
Yeah, into the river.
Yeah, cross street.
So if you take rock out of the river bed for the basketball court, Do you have to get permission from the DEC?
So we're taking out the creek.
And that's already done.
Already do it.
Oh, it's already done?
Well, yeah, we have a permit with the DEC.
We do that all the time. Because that stone gets pushed down the creek and we take it out of there all the time.
So you'll see, if you go over to Martin Park over here, you'll see a giant pile of stone sitting over there.
What about all the stones in the fill that they put in when they were building the Court Street Bridge?
They put a lot in.
They put a lot in, you could walk across that river
Yeah,
on a good day.
Are you gonna have the same issue when you tear out the skateboard park?
Yeah, maybe.
Because it's, everything's soft.
Right.
Probably.
Soil is crappy.
Probably.
Well, not for growing, it's not.
Well,
But
no.
you
For
don't want to
building
grow
it
in
is.
village.
I would expect there's a good chance we will have the same issue. Now, all of a sudden, that hundreds of thousands of dollars to put that concrete in is gonna have to have this base and that underneath and on, but we'll see.
You better not use the whole pile of rocks.
We gotta save some rocks.
Yeah, right, demolish what's there, put it back. Push it down.
Dave and I looked at that and talked about that numbers of times, that slab there, with his expertise, is pretty solid. That doesn't mean that we can't or don't have to do something there, but it just seems so odd to take that slab out to put one in that's 2/3 as big, when that slab looks real solid. And if we want to still put a whole bunch of improvement there, we can put the concrete moguls on top of the slab that's there. It just seems weird.
Seems like you should be able to use it for something.
But anyway,
Turn it up like that and make a handball.
dual thing, and the pickleball on Saturdays at 7.
Whatever happened to handball?
All right, any other public comment? Okay.
Move to adjourn.
See you right next time. Nate's probably sleeping. He didn't even say a word the whole meeting.
Thanks for waiting the whole time,
He's
folks.
probably sleeping in the baby.
Appreciate it.
Not everybody.
This is pre-recorded. He's not.
Is Henry playing the piano there?